Please like, share, and subscribe. Wishing you happiness and good luck every day.
You ever wonder how some businesses just seem to explode out of nowhere while others are stuck spinning their wheels? Well, a lot of the time it comes down to a really simple shift in how they think about making money. Today, we're going to dive into the story of Alex Hormozi. This is a guy who went from literally sleeping on his gym floor to building a portfolio worth over $100 million. And his secret? It's a powerful idea he calls a money model. Let's get into it.
So every huge success story has a beginning, right? Well, Hormozi's was anything but glamorous. This is it. This is where he slept. Not a bed, not a couch, the floor of his first gym. He called it his concrete bedroom. I mean, just looking at it, you can almost feel how cold and hard that floor was. This is what rock bottom looks like.
And this quote, wow, it just puts you right there in that moment with him. This wasn't some romantic hustle and grind struggle. No, this was pure terror. He was totally alone, and he'd risked absolutely everything on this dream that was just falling apart. The stakes, for him, could not have been any higher.
And to really get how desperate he was, you gotta know what he'd given up. He ignored his dad, turned his back on business school, and poured every single penny he had into this gym. He had burned the boats. There was no plan B, no safety net, no one he could call to bail him out. He simply had to make this work, period.
So he's got about a month's worth of cash left. Things are looking grim. His gym is circling the drain, but then, out of nowhere, a breakthrough comes from the most random place. The guy who owned the storage unit facility across the street, who was one of his only members, he saw Hormozi struggling and just offered to help. And this one little conversation, well, it changed everything.
So picture this. They're sitting in a diner, and this mentor asks him this totally bizarre question. He says, "How much does a free month of storage cost?" Now, my first thought, and probably Hormozi's too, was, zero? It's free. But this question right here, this is the key that unlocks the whole thing. What do you think? What's the answer?
$127. That's the answer. So wait, how on earth does something that's advertised as free actually cost $127? It sounds like some kind of riddle, but it's actually a genius business model. The real magic isn't the number itself, it's how they get to that number.
See, it's not one thing, it's a whole sequence of solving problems for the customer. So you get your free storage unit. Great, but what's the first thing you need? A lock. Guess what? They sell a special one you have to use for $47. Then you think, shoot, I need boxes, tape. Yep, they sell those too. Need a hand moving your stuff? They've got a moving service to get a cut from. Want to make sure your valuables are safe? They'll sell you better insurance. Every step is a new problem, with a profitable solution ready and waiting.
And believe me, they thought of everything. You don't want to hire movers? Okay, fine. Here, you can rent our dollies and hand trucks. And here's a classic one. They know most people have way more junk than they think, so they're always ready to upsell you to that slightly bigger, slightly more expensive unit. For every single problem you could possibly have, they had an answer that made them money.
And here's the light bulb moment. The mentor's wisdom wasn't just about storage units. It was a universal principle. Once you figure out the DNA of making money, finding a customer's problems and solving them in a sequence, you can take that exact same thinking and apply it to literally any business.
And Hormozi? He didn't just listen, he acted. He took that lesson and sprinted with it. In just 2.5 years, he went from nearly bankrupt to owning a chain of 6 profitable gyms. He had totally mastered the lesson and built his own version of this model. But now, he was thinking even bigger.
I mean, just look at this transformation. It's wild. On the left, you've got the concrete bedroom where it all started. And on the right, a guy in charge of a thriving business. This isn't just about making more money, It's about how the right knowledge, the right model, can completely change your life. The difference is just staggering.
So to get to that next level, Hormozi knew he needed to learn from the absolute best. So he invested a crazy amount of money, $25,000 for a single 1-hour call with a top marketer. He went into that call hoping to get some tips on scaling his gyms, but what he got instead was a huge revelation about the amazing thing he had already built.
So he lays out his whole system for the marketer. He'd advertise a free 6-week challenge to get people in the door. About a quarter of those people would sign up for a $600 program, and he'd make another $80 in pure profit just from selling them supplements. This model was so powerful that he could get a brand new gym totally full and have $20,000 in monthly membership fees locked in before he even opened the doors, all with zero debt.
So the marketer's listening to all this, and he's clearly impressed, but he just cuts through it all and zeroes in on one thing. He asks this one simple question. And this question is what revealed the true, almost unbelievable power of what Hormozi had created.
$5. That's what he said. He was only paying $5 to get someone to sign up for his free challenge. Now, $5 on its own, it might not sound like much, but when you plug that number into the rest of his model, well, that's when things get absolutely insane.
This was the marketer's reaction. He was completely floored. He did the quick math in his head and realized Hormozi hadn't just built a profitable business. He had built a literal money printing machine. For every single dollar he was putting into ads, he was getting $34 back. And get this, he was getting it back in less than 2 days. That is the definition of a powerful money model.
A 34 times return on investment. Just let that sink in for a second. Most businesses, they're thrilled if they get 2 or 3 times their money back over a whole month. Hormozi was getting 34 times his money back in 48 hours. This number, right here, this is what separates a business that just gets by from one that grows like a rocket ship.
And this was the $25,000 advice. The marketer basically told him, dude, you are playing in the wrong league. Your skill at building this system is world-class, but you're using it on a tiny opportunity, running a few local gyms. The real money, the massive opportunity, is in teaching thousands of other gym owners how to do this.
So this is what it looks like on paper. This is the framework. A money model isn't just one offer, it's a whole sequence. You start with something to attract them, like that free offer. Then you have upsells, downsells, ways to keep them coming back. But the goal, the whole point, is so simple. Make more money from each customer than it costs you to get them in the first place.
So let's nail down the definition. What is a money model? It's a series of offers all strategically designed to solve every single problem your customer has related to what you sell. And the result? You make so much profit right at the beginning, like within the first 30 days, that the cost of your ads becomes a non-issue. You can outspend all your competition because you get your money back faster than they do.
Think about the last time you rented a car. You've totally been through a money model and probably didn't even realize it. You see an ad for a car for like $19 a day, but you walk out of there paying $100. Why? Well, first they offer you a vehicle upgrade. Then they offer premium insurance for peace of mind. Then they offer prepaid gas so you don't have to fill it up. Each one solves a potential little problem, and each one adds to their bottom line.
And this just lays out the night and day difference. A bad model, which is what most businesses run on, actually loses money on that first sale and then just prays they'll make it back over a few years. It starves the business of cash. But a good model, it engineers profit from day one. It covers your ad costs almost instantly, and it gives you the cash you need to fuel insane growth. It's the difference between praying for profit and actually building it.
So here's the ultimate goal. Get paid. Fast. A really powerful money model creates a system where you can actually use a credit card to pay for your ads to get a customer. Then you use the money that customer pays you to immediately pay off the credit card bill long before any interest hits. It creates this perfect, self-funding loop that you can just repeat forever.
And that brings us right back to you. This is the big question to ask yourself. Think about your business, or even just an idea you have. Once someone makes that first purchase, what's the very next problem they're going to have? And what's the problem after that? The answers to those questions? Well, those are the building blocks for your very own $100 million money model.
All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to tear down and rebuild a really powerful framework that can turn just about any business into a self-funding, money-making machine. It's called the 4-part money model.
And yeah, we're starting with this. Stop being poor. Look, I know it's blunt, but it kind of perfectly sets the stage for the mindset shift we're talking about today. It's really about moving from that reactive, I'm just trying to survive state to a proactive, strategic one where you're actually in control. And this is the core problem, isn't it? I mean, so many businesses are stuck in this trap. They pour all this cash into advertising to get people in the door, but then they're not making enough back from those customers to actually grow. It's just this constant, exhausting cycle.
But what if you could just break out of that cycle? Seriously, imagine having a literal blueprint, a system that doesn't just attract customers, but actually maximizes the value from every single one of them. A system that creates a predictable, profitable engine for your business.
Well, that blueprint is what we're calling the money model. At its heart, it's just a sequence of 4 different types of offers, but they're designed to work together to solve that huge business problem. the cost of getting a customer versus what that customer is actually worth to you over time. And here it is, the whole thing at a glance. You've got these 4 key stages: attraction, then upsells, downsells, and finally, continuity. You can think of each one as a critical gear in the engine. Now, today, we're really going to go deep on that first step, attraction, because it's the most important. But it's so crucial to see how it fits into the bigger picture first. You know, it's funny, but this quote from Mean Girls is actually perfect here. Because just making one offer to a customer, that's fine, it's good, but that's not where the real power is. The source material for this is crystal clear. Making more offers works way better than just making one. And when you combine them in the right sequence, well, that's when the limit really does not exist. So let's just quickly break down what each of these parts actually does. First, attraction. That's your front door. It's how you turn strangers into paying customers. Then you have upsells. That's how you increase the value of that first sale, right then and there. Downsells are your safety net. They're there to catch the people who say no to the upsell. And finally, continuity. That's the holy grail. That's how you create reliable, recurring revenue month after month. And that right there is the magic. Any one of these can work out its own for sure, but when you weave them all together into one single cohesive strategy, you create a system that's just incredibly resilient and profitable. You build a business that becomes truly unstoppable. So let's zoom in on that very first piece of the puzzle and see how this whole thing gets started. Because if you don't have customers coming in the door, nothing else really matters, right? So we have to begin with attraction offers. I absolutely love this little doodle because it shows you exactly where we are in the process. See that little magnet? That's you. Your business starts right there, at that point, pulling complete strangers out of the crowd and inviting them to become a customer. So what is an attraction offer exactly? It's really simple. It's just an irresistible deal, something that's usually free or at a massive discount. And it's designed to do just one thing: turn advertising into money by getting eyeballs to convert into actual paying customers. It's the front door to your entire business model. The psychology behind this is so universal. We all want a great deal. And what is a great deal? It's when you feel like you're getting way more value than the price you have to pay. For a brand new customer who doesn't know you or trust you yet, the price is really the only thing they can truly understand and latch onto. This slide just illustrates that dynamic perfectly. Think of it like a seesaw, right? As the price goes down, demand shoots way up. So what do you think happens when you push that price all the way to the floor? You get free, the ultimate demand generator. Why? Because it removes the single biggest barrier for any new customer: risk. Okay, this all sounds fantastic in theory, but the big question is still hanging out there. How do you actually make money by giving stuff away? Let's get practical and look at some proven tactics. I mean, it's the logical question, isn't it? If you're just giving away value, where's the profit? Well, the key thing to remember is that the attraction offer is just the first step. It's the start of the conversation. Think about it. People go into a store looking for one thing, and they often end up buying something else. This system just gets them to do it on purpose. So here are 5 proven tactics, straight from the source material. First, you could offer a chance to win your money back. This gamifies the whole purchase. Or you could run a simple giveaway to build your email list. There's something called the decoy offer, which is where you create a slightly worse option to make your main offer look like an absolute steal. A total classic is buy X, get Y free, which just pumps up the perceived value. Or you could create urgency by framing it as pay less now or pay more later. Any of these can work to get that crucial first yes. Now, before you run off and start building these offers, we need to talk about the rules of the game. The tactics are great, but it's the mindset and the principles behind them that make sure this builds a sustainable, respected business, and not just some short-term cash grab. Rule number 1, let your product do the heavy lifting. If your offer provides real, genuine value, you don't need those high-pressure, sleazy sales tactics. Your only job is to present the right solution at the exact moment your customer feels the problem. And hey, if they say no, that's totally fine. You just move on and find someone who does need it. The offer itself should be the salesperson. This is so important. Fighting with a customer over a refund, it just creates a horrible experience and a terrible reputation for you. It's just not worth the headache. The long-term value of a happy customer, or heck, even a non-angry ex-customer, is always, always higher than that one sale. Just give them the money back, no questions asked. And this right here is the bottom line. You just have to be honest. The source makes such a powerful point here. Unlike debt, you can't get rid of a bad reputation. You can't just file for bankruptcy and make it disappear. It sticks to you. So be transparent, tell the truth, and build your business on a foundation of trust. And this might be the most important rule of all. It's all about your mindset. The default reaction for so many of us when we see a new idea is to immediately say, nah, this won't work for me. The real challenge and the absolute key to success is to flip that question. Don't ask if it will work, ask how you can make it work for your business. That simple little shift is where all the breakthroughs happen. And that's our deep dive into the engine starter of the money model. You've got the psychology, you've got the tactics, and you've got the rules of the game. So now the only question left is the one right here on the screen. Looking at your business right now, what will your first attraction offer be?
So, what if I told you there's a business offer that sounds, well, frankly, it sounds impossible, but it's specifically designed to get you more cash up front, pull in a ton of new customers, and make sure they get amazing results. It's called the Win Your Money Back offer, and we're about to dive deep into exactly how it works and the honestly brilliant psychology that makes it so ridiculously effective. All right, so here's our roadmap. To really get this, we're going to start with a story, the origin story of this whole crazy idea. Then we'll take the model apart to see how it ticks. After that, we'll get practical. I mean, how do you actually design one? Then we'll uncover the really counterintuitive way it makes you a ton of money. And finally, we'll talk about turning these wins into customers for life. So our story starts with this gym owner, a guy named Danny. He was pretty new to the whole business thing, really struggling to make sales. And one day he's facing this super tough, super skeptical customer who he knows needs his help but just refuses to buy anything. So after going back and forth getting nowhere, the customer just throws this absolute Hail Mary of an idea out there. He basically proposes a bet on himself. He said, look, I'll pay you, but if I do the work and I actually hit my goal, the training is free. All Danny would get is the right to use his success story for marketing. Danny, figuring he had nothing to lose, said, you're on. And here is where it gets interesting. The client actually did it. He totally crushed his goal in just 8 weeks. Now you think, okay, story's over, Danny has to give the $500 back, bummer. But that is not at all what happened next. This is the magic moment. Not only did the client take his refund and immediately use it to buy more training, but Danny's before and after pictures of this guy's transformation, they brought in a jaw-dropping 13 new referrals. He was suddenly making more money than ever, and just like that, a whole new business model was born out of a single impossible bet. So that one bet completely changed the game for Danny's gym. But the real question is, how do we take that lightning-in-a-bottle moment and turn it into something you can actually repeat? A formal model that works for pretty much any business. Well, let's break it down.
So officially, this thing is called a Win Your Money Back offer, or WYMB for short. And it's really, really simple at its core. A customer pays you upfront. You give them a super clear target, a deadline, and a specific set of rules to follow. If they check all 3 of those boxes, boom, they qualify to get their initial investment back.
This visual just nails the whole journey, doesn't it? You see the shift. It's a customer going from feeling kind of uncertain, paying for a potential result, to that same person feeling like a champion, totally victorious. The real key here isn't just the money. It's that psychological transformation from before to after. That's what creates an insane level of loyalty to your brand. You know, the purpose of this whole model really just boils down to these 3 things. 1, you get paid in full right at the start. Huge for cash flow. 2, that it's free if you succeed angle. It just melts away the risk for new customers. So way more people sign up. And 3, because they literally have skin in the game, they are so much more motivated to actually follow your program and get unbelievable results.
Okay. The theory is great. I get it. But how do you actually build this for your business? Let's get into the nitty-gritty, the nuts and bolts of designing a perfect offer, from setting the rules to defining what a win actually looks like.
So you basically got 2 main paths you can go down when you're setting the rules. First is results-based. That's where the win is tied to a specific outcome, like losing 10 pounds. The second is actions-based, where the win is tied to just completing certain tasks, like showing up to every meeting. So are they betting on their raw ability, or are they betting on their discipline to just follow directions? Now, whichever path you choose, your criteria have to be absolutely bulletproof, and they need to follow 3 golden rules. First, tracking has to be dead simple.
Think automatic things like steps on a phone. Second, the actions you require must be the exact things that lead to results. No fluff. And third, and this is the really clever part, the rules should secretly double as free advertising for your business.
Let's make this really concrete. For a fitness coach, the rules could be attending all your calls and posting their progress online each week. See? Easy to track leads to results. For a sales consultant, maybe it's sending 100 outreach messages a day and reporting their stats. Notice how all of these are action-based? They're simple to prove, and they directly cause the success you're promising.
Okay, this brings us to the giant elephant in the room. The question you've all been thinking. If you're giving money back to people, how in the world do you actually make a profit? Let's unpack the really surprising economics that make this thing so powerful. First, let's just get some perspective here. This isn't some cute little marketing gimmick. The Win Your Money Back model has generated over $1 billion in sales across all kinds of industries. It works on a massive scale because it taps into really deep parts of our psychology, like loss aversion, how we hate to lose something we feel we already own, and the power of making a real commitment.
All right, here's the secret, and it is the complete opposite of what you think. The profit isn't in the people who fail. That's small-time thinking. The real, long-term, sustainable money, it comes from the people who succeed. Why? Because a client who wins becomes your #1 fan, your best walking advertisement, and your most loyal repeat customer. They've just proven to themselves that your system works.
And the data, well, the data from thousands of businesses backs this up completely. Just look at these typical results. Only a tiny slice of people who actually qualify for the refund, we're talking like 10%, even ask for the cash. The massive majority either reinvest that money right back into your business for the next thing, or they didn't quite hit the mark, but they're still super happy and stay on as customers. This is what makes the model so stable. And hey, here's a fantastic pro tip to make this whole thing even more powerful. Testing shows that if you offer store credit instead of cash, you get the exact same number of people to sign up. So the customer still feels that amazing sense of winning, but the cash never actually leaves your business. It is a total win-win.
So, we've established the model works and it's profitable. Now let's get into the really advanced stuff, the long game. How do you turn these initial wins into loyal, raving fans for years and years to come?
Remember how we made attending check-in meetings one of the rules? Well, here's why that's so brilliant. Every single one of those meetings is a natural, totally non-salesy chance to just listen to your customer, hear about their progress, and then offer them the next logical step. It's the absolute perfect moment to make a relevant upsell. But of course, what about the people who give it their all, but just don't quite hit the target? Do you just keep their money and say, well, better luck next time? No, absolutely not. There is a much, much smarter way to play this. You reframe the whole situation. You look them in the eye and say, you know what? You started. That's the biggest victory of all. And to honor that, you tell them you'll credit their entire deposit toward a long-term plan with you. You instantly turn a loss into a win, you lock in a long-term customer, and you build an insane amount of goodwill.
So, let's just recap why this offer is such a home run. You get cash up front, you make it a no-brainer for new clients to say yes, you push people to get incredible results, you create a perfect pathway to long-term business, and you generate an absolute tidal wave of free marketing and social proof. It's the whole package.
And this brings us to the final thought I want to leave you with. As you think about this for your own business, don't just think about small, easy wins. I want you to think bigger. What is the single most transformative result you could challenge your customers to get, where if they actually did it, winning their money back would feel like the ultimate victory lap?
Today, we're diving into a really powerful strategy that some of the most successful businesses are using to just generate an absolute ton of high-quality leads. And here's the wild part. It's all built around giving your best, most valuable product away for free so that you can sell more of it than you ever thought possible. So here's the game plan. First, we're going to uncover the secret that makes this whole thing tick. Then, we'll break down the super simple 3-step process, show you exactly how to build an offer they can't refuse, and walk through the execution playbook step by step. And stick around, because at the end, we're getting into the pro-level stuff that will just supercharge your results.
Right, this is the big question, isn't it? It feels completely backwards. I mean, why in the world would you take your most valuable thing and just give it away for free? Well, as we're about to see, the answer to that question is the key to unlocking a flood of people who are dying to become your customers.
To really get how this works, we have to start with a story. This isn't just some abstract theory. It's a real-world example that just perfectly breaks down the secret sauce behind this entire strategy.
Okay, so it all started with this fitness certification business. They came up with a simple but totally brilliant idea. They advertised a full-ride scholarship to their best program. Now, to apply, all people had to do was give their contact info and answer one simple question: why should we pick you? And you can imagine what happened, right? They got a huge list of super motivated, super interested applicants.
And this is where the magic happens. The business owner had this incredible realization. Sure, there could only be one person who won the grand prize, the full ride, but that didn't mean everyone else had to walk away with nothing. And that one little thought, well, it changed everything.
So this partial scholarship idea, it was just a really smart way to reframe a discount. Instead of calling up all the people who didn't win with bad news, they called them with great news. The conversation went something like this. Hey, well, you didn't get the full ride. Our team was so blown away by your application that we wanted to award you a partial scholarship. So instead of feeling rejected, these applicants felt special. They felt seen. They were thrilled, and a whole bunch of them signed up right there on the spot. So you see, that scholarship wasn't just some clever one-off trick. No, it's a repeatable system. It's an engine. So let's break down the simple three-step mechanic that makes this whole model work so well.
This is the core philosophy right here. You attract a huge crowd with one massive prize, but you build the system so that, in a way, almost everyone who plays walks away feeling like a winner. It totally flips the script on what a normal contest feels like.
This visual basically lays out the entire engine at a glance. It's a loop. You start by using that one big prize to pull in a massive crowd. Then, you pick a single winner, sure, but the real money, the real magic, happens right after, when you turn your attention to converting that huge line of people who came in second place.
Let's just walk through these three actions real quick. First, the offer. You get everyone's attention with an amazing free prize. Second, the winner. You pick your one grand prize winner and you celebrate them publicly. And third, the conversion. This is the master stroke. You immediately reach out to every single other person and you give them their own prize, a special discount on the exact thing they just told you they wanted.
Okay, so now that you get the basic three-step model, let's get practical. The next move is to build your own irresistible offer. This is where we start tailoring this whole strategy directly to your business. Now listen up, because this is the single most important rule of this whole playbook. Your grand prize cannot be something random like an iPad. It must be your core, high-value product, the thing you actually want to sell more of. And you have to give it a clear, high-dollar value. This isn't just for show. It acts as a critical psychological price anchor for the offer that's coming later.
And the best part is, this strategy is incredibly versatile. It's not just for one kind of business. Check out these examples. A dentist can give away a $6,000 set of invisible braces and then turn around and offer a $2,000 gift card to everyone else. A dog food company gives away a year's supply, then offers a $300 gift card with a subscription. It works for services, for consulting, you name it.
Okay, so you've designed your offer. It's perfect. Now it's time to stop planning and start doing. Here are the exact steps for taking your giveaway from launch all the way to conversion.
Here is your 5-step execution checklist. Number 1, get their contact info, but also ask a few key qualifying questions. 2, set a really tight deadline to enter, like 3 to 7 days max. You want that urgency. 3, announce your winner publicly, make a big deal out of it. 4, privately contact every other person with their prize. And 5, this is key, hit them with a second deadline. Give them just 7 days to claim their special offer. It creates a whole new wave of urgency. Now, let's talk for a second about the psychology of your offer. Let's say your discount is, 10%. On its own, that sounds okay, but not that exciting, right? The thing is, it's not about the discount percentage. It's all about how you frame it against that big, juicy price anchor you set up with the grand prize. And this is where that framing really pays off. Let's say your grand prize has a stated value of $5,000, but the retail price is $2,000. Okay, a simple 10% discount on that brings the price to $1,800, but you don't pitch it as 10% off. No way. You frame it as you get $5,000 in value for only $1,800. See, by anchoring to that much higher value number, that small discount now feels like a massive 64% difference. That is the power of framing.
So once you've got the basics down and you've run this once or twice, it's time to get into the advanced plays. The core playbook is great, but these pro-level tactics, this is what separates a pretty good campaign from an absolutely legendary one.
Okay, this is just flat-out genius. You double the grand prize, but you add a twist. You tell every single person who enters, hey, if you refer the person who ends up winning the grand prize, you win a grand prize too. Now what does this do? It instantly turns every single entrant into a highly motivated promoter for your giveaway.
And here's what that looks like in the real world. This post from school.com shows you exactly how to frame it for your audience. It creates this incredibly powerful viral loop. Everyone starts telling their friends, and because their own chance of winning is tied to who they bring in, they're not just going to refer anybody, they're going to bring in high-quality people.
Finally, let's cover a few critical details that can make or break this whole thing. You've got to use scarcity and urgency at every single step. Always have a downsell ready. That's a smaller, cheaper offer for people who say no to your main one. And this last one, it is absolutely non-negotiable. You have to consult a lawyer. Giveaway and sweepstakes laws are no joke, and you have to make sure you're doing this by the book.
So what happens if you try all this and it just falls flat? If it doesn't work? Well, there is almost always one, and only one, reason. And this quote says it all. The problem isn't the model, it's the prize. It just wasn't desirable enough. It wasn't valuable enough to your audience to get them off the couch. The solution is simple. Offer something grander.
All right, we have covered the entire playbook, from the core secret all the way to the advanced tactics. So now let's just boil this all down to the one key takeaway, the one thing you can take action on right now.
So I'll just leave you with this question. Take a good look at your own business, your products, your services. What is the one high-value thing that you offer that, if you gave it away as a grand prize, could attract hundreds, maybe even thousands of your absolute perfect customers? That's it. That's your starting point. So let's talk about a sales strategy that's going to sound, well, a little backwards. We're going to unpack how you can use your cheapest, simplest offer to actually get customers to happily choose your most profitable one. It's called the decoy offer, and trust me, once you see how it works, it can totally change the way you think about your pricing and your sales.
Here's the game plan for today. We're going to start with a really cool story about a tanning salon. Yep, you heard that right. Then we'll nail down exactly what a decoy offer is. After that, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of how you can build your own, and then how to pitch it perfectly. And to wrap it all up, we'll give you a simple playbook to put everything into action.
I mean, think about that for a second. It sounds completely wrong, doesn't it? We're always told to lead with our best, most expensive stuff. But this strategy, it flips that entire idea on its head. It suggests that small, low-cost thing you offer might just be the secret key to unlocking your biggest, most profitable sales.
To really see how this works in the real world, we've got to tell you a story. It's about a mentor who just understood people. And it all starts in a place you'd never expect, a local tanning salon. This is where the magic really begins.
All right, meet John. John ran a tanning salon, and he had what looked like a really simple promotion. A 5-day VIP pass for just $5. Now on the surface, that just seems like a standard discount to get people through the door, right? But John was playing a much, much deeper game. And this, right here, is the core of his genius. See, when a customer came in wanting a fast tan for an event that weekend, John didn't just sell them the cheap pass. Nope. He used this perfect analogy about cooking a turkey. He'd explain that getting a great result, a great tan, takes time. If you rush it, you don't get what you want. You just get burned.
And boom, there's the pivot. As soon as the customer realized, oh, this cheap pass won't actually get me the result I want, John presented the real solution. He framed that $5 pass as just a down payment on the real answer, the monthly membership. He made it clear that it wasn't just a better deal, it was literally the only way to get the beautiful tan they were after. Brilliant.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's a clever trick for a tanning salon, but does it work anywhere else? Well, let me tell you, this wasn't some one-off thing. It's a system. To prove it, let's jump forward 5 years and see how this exact same idea was used to solve a huge crisis in a completely different business. So the guy who learned this from John, he found himself running a fitness business that had totally hit a wall. The cost to get new customers was just skyrocketing. His old ads and offers, they just weren't cutting it anymore. He knew he needed something new, and that's when he remembered John's turkey talk.
So he came up with 2 very different options. Option 1 on the left was totally free, but it was super basic. It was just enough to give someone a taste, but it promised almost nothing. But option 2, that was the whole shebang. It wasn't just more workouts. It was one-on-one coaching, a custom plan, and a guarantee that you'd get results.
It's the difference between being handed a map versus having a private guide for your entire journey.
And the results? Honestly, they were just insane. Get this, 8 out of every 10 people who walked in the door for that free offer ended up paying for the $399 premium package instead. That's an 80% conversion rate. This wasn't just a little boost, it literally saved his business.
Okay, so now that we've seen it in action, let's put an official definition on it. A decoy offer is a strategy where you advertise something free or super cheap to get people interested, but the whole point is to then show them a much more valuable premium offer right next to it. You create this massive, glaring contrast that makes the premium option feel like the obvious choice.
This image really nails the psychology, right? You're not trying to trick anybody. You're just architecting the choice. You're showing them, look, option A is here, you can take it. But when you put it right next to the incredible value of option B, the decision just becomes simple. It feels natural for them to pick the better one.
And this quote, this really gets the heart of why this strategy works and why it's not sleazy. It's built on a foundation of genuine expertise. You know that the decoy offer won't really solve their problem, but your premium offer absolutely will. And that confidence you have in your premium offer is what makes it feel like the clear, correct solution for them.
Okay, so we've got the what and the why down. Now for the fun part, the how. In this next section, we're going to break down exactly how you can build one of these irresistible choices for your own business.
And check out how flexible this is. It works for pretty much anything. For a simple lemonade stand, the decoy is just basic powdered mix, but the premium option, that's an experience with organic cold-pressed lemons. For a float tech center, the decoy is one solo float, versus the premium, which is a full program with consulting and a guarantee. And for a gym, it's generic group classes versus a completely personalized transformation. You see the pattern? In every single case, the decoy is just a product, but the premium, that's a complete solution.
So as you're building this out, keep these 4 rules in your back pocket. They are crucial. First, the contrast in value has to be massive. You do that by stripping the decoy down to its bare bones. Fewer features, no personalization, and absolutely no guarantees. And here's a cool psychological tip. It's often better to charge a small amount, like $5, than to offer it for free. You tend to get people who are more serious and more likely to show up.
Okay, so you've built the perfect offers. That's awesome. But that's only half the game, right? How you actually present it, the story you tell, is what seals the deal. So let's dive into the art of the pitch.
I love this analogy because it's just so perfect. Selling features, saying we have workouts and meal plans, is like trying to sell someone a rowboat. Yeah, it might get them across the lake, eventually, but selling benefits, saying we offer a complete transformation in 21 days, that's offering them a private jet. You're not selling the engine specs, you're selling the destination, the speed, the luxury. You're selling the dream.
Okay, write this one down, because this might be the single most powerful question in this entire strategy. When a customer comes in and asks about your cheap decoy offer, you look them in the eye and you ask them this. And you know what? Almost every single person is going to say lasting results. In that one moment, they've just given you permission to stop talking about the decoy and start talking about the premium solution that they just admitted they really want.
Now this next part is a subtle but incredibly powerful technique. It's called the assumed close. Once they've said they want results, you start talking about the premium offer not as one of 2 choices, but as the natural next step. You present it like it's the standard path, the one everyone takes, because it's just so obviously the best way to get what they want. Your own quiet confidence makes it feel like the right, easy decision.
All right, we have covered a ton of ground, from the psychology to real-world examples. So let's pull it all together into a super simple, step-by-step playbook you can start using like today.
It really is this simple. 4 steps. Step 1, you advertise the simple decoy to get people in the door. Step 2, when they show up, you present both options, but you lead with the premium one. Step 3, you use that golden question, are you here for free stuff or lasting results, to get their permission to sell the real solution. And finally, step 4, you make the value gap between the 2 offers so big that the premium one becomes the only logical choice.
And before we wrap up, here's one last little bonus tip. It's super smart. What happens if someone actually says, you know what, I'll just take the decoy? Don't look at it as a failure. Instead, surprise them. Give them a little piece of the premium package for free, anyway. This builds a crazy amount of goodwill and basically turns them into a warm lead for an upsell down the road. You're playing the long game.
So I want to leave you with this one thought to chew on. Take a look at your own business, at what you're currently selling. Ask yourself, what is your rowboat? What's that basic, simple version? And then more importantly, what's your private jet? What is that incredible, all-in, guaranteed, dream-come-true solution you could build? Because the answer to that question, well, it might just be the key to completely transforming your business.
All right, today we're going to crack the code on one of the most powerful and, frankly, one of the most misunderstood sales tactics out there, the Buy X, Get Y free offer. You've seen it everywhere, right? But do you really get how it works? Well, that's what we're digging into today. Okay, so picture this. You're in downtown Nashville. You've got honky-tonk bars, live music everywhere, and right in the middle of it all is this one store that's been around for over a decade, the Boot Factory. And their whole secret is just plastered right there on the front in huge letters.
You heard that right. Buy one pair of cowboy boots and you walk out with 3. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. At first glance, it sounds completely insane, doesn't it? It sounds like a business that's actively trying to go bankrupt. And that is the big mystery we are going to solve. How on earth is this possible? Is it some kind of scam? A clearance sale that just never, ever ends? Or is it one of the most brilliant money models that's been hiding in plain sight this whole time?
Well, the answer isn't some kind of retail magic. It's just math. So let's pull back the curtain and actually look at the numbers behind this so-called free offer.
Okay, so here's the absolute key to understanding this. The store isn't actually giving anything away for free. Not really. What they're doing is so much cleverer. They're just changing how you think about the total price. It's a work of psychological genius.
Let's make this super simple with an analogy. Say you're selling t-shirts. Option 1, you sell 3 shirts, $10 each. Grand total, $30. Pretty standard, right? But now, what if you sold 1 shirt for $30 and then told the customer, hey, you get 2 more for free? See what just happened? The amount of money you make is exactly the same.
The math is identical, yeah? But which one sounds like a better deal? Which one gets you excited? It's the one with that magic word, free. That word it does something to our brains. It triggers what's called the zero price effect. We get irrationally hyped about getting something for nothing. It pulls way more people into the store than just a simple bulk discount ever could.
So if we were to put a fancy definition on it, here's what it is. It's a strategy where you bundle a bunch of stuff together, but instead of just saying, hey, here's a discount of the bundle, you do this brilliant psychological flip. You load the entire cost of everything onto that one main item, and that makes all the other stuff feel like this incredible zero-cost bonus you just stumbled upon.
And this number, this is the key that just blows the whole Boot Factory mystery wide open. You walk into that store, you pick up a pair of boots you like, you look at the price tag, and you see this. $600.
And just like that, it all clicks into place. The Boot Factory isn't really in the business of selling 1 pair of boots for a crazy price of $600. No, they're in the business of selling a package of 3 pairs for $600. They just reframed it. The cost of those 2 free pairs, it's all baked right into the price of that first one. And there you have it, mystery solved.
Okay, so now we get the what. We understand the basic model, but let's get into the how. How can you actually use this thing effectively? Let's dive into some pro tips to really master this.
All right, pro tip number 1, and this is a big one. Try to always have more free items than paid items. Buy 1, get 2 free feels like you just won the lottery. But buy 2, get 1 free? It's okay, but it doesn't have that same punch, you know? The more you give away for free, the more irresistible the deal feels.
Now, here's where things get really fun and creative. The free stuff, it doesn't have to be the same as what the person is buying. You can mix and match to build some seriously compelling offers.
So let's go back to our clothing store. Buy 1 shirt, get 1 free. That's a solid, classic offer. But check this out. Buy 1 shirt, get 3 pairs of socks free. Think about it. For probably the same cost to your business, you're giving the customer more items. That feeling of getting a whole pile of free stuff can sometimes be even more powerful than getting one high-value freebie.
And hey, don't for a second think this is just for physical stuff like boots or socks. This model is an absolute beast for services, for software, for subscriptions, anything where you're bundling time and access. Let's just look at this example. Say you've got an 18-month service that costs $1,800. You could sell it as buy 12 months, get 6 free. Pretty good. Or buy 9, get 9 free. Ooh, that sounds even better, right? Parity. But the killer offer? Buy 6 months, get 12 months free. Why is that the best? Because you're getting double the amount of time for free than what you paid for. It feels like an absolute steal, even though the total price and the total time are exactly the same in every single case.
Okay, now hold on. Before you run off and change all your pricing, we need to talk about some really important rules, some guardrails. Because if you do this right, it can be amazing for your business. But if you do it wrong, it can be a total disaster.
There are 3 rules you just can't break. First, you have to raise the price of that main item to cover the cost of everything else. This isn't about losing money. Second, you have to be smart about your cash flow. Getting a whole year's worth of cash up front feels great, but you got to budget that money to actually, provide the service for the whole year. And third, and this is the most important, you must always deliver on what you promised.
The source material puts it pretty bluntly, actually. Don't be a goon. When a customer gives you a big pile of cash up front, that money isn't yours to go on a shopping spree with. It's an obligation. It's a promise you made to that customer. If you sell something you can't deliver, that's not just bad business, it's illegal, and it'll destroy your reputation.
All right, let's wrap this up and bring it all home. What are the big ideas you need to walk away with from all this?
Okay, so let's run through it. 1, free is about reframing price, not just discounting. 2, give away more than they buy. The psychology is way stronger. 3, get creative. Mix and match products and services. 4, this works for pretty much anything, products and services. 5, and this is huge, if you use this, you have to be responsible. Raise your prices and manage that cash. And finally, for one-time customers, this is your chance to make that first sale as big as possible.
So this buy X get Y free model is this really cool mix of simple math and pretty deep psychology. And now that you know the secret, you're going to start seeing it everywhere, from boot stores to software deals. So the real question is, now that you can see behind the curtain, how are you going to use the power of free? Or what are you going to spot the next time you're out shopping?
Today, we're going to break down an incredibly powerful, really low-risk strategy for getting customers and getting them to pay you. The cool part? It often starts by offering them something completely for free. This is a business model inspired by a real-world experience, and honestly, it's so clever, you'll probably wonder why you don't see it everywhere.
Okay, so let me just start by asking you this. What if you could get paying customers by advertising your product or your service for free? I know, it sounds kind of like a trick question, right? A little too good to be true. But that's the absolute core of the model we're about to explore, and it all kicks off with a great little story.
So this whole thing started for me way back in 2016. I saw an online ad for a speed reading class, and the offer they made was so compelling, so impossible to ignore, that it actually became the foundation for this entire strategy for getting new customers.
This was the headline. Just listen to this. Double your reading speed in 3 hours or it's free. I mean, think about that promise for a second. It's incredibly bold, it's super specific, and most importantly, it's completely risk-free for me, the customer. There was literally no downside. So, of course, I registered. I mean, why wouldn't I?
Now, this right here, this is the heart and soul of the model, the choice they gave me. When I went to register, I had 2 options. Option A was pay absolutely nothing right now, just put your credit card on file, and you'll get billed the full $297 after the class, but only if your reading speed actually doubled. Or there was option B, pay a discounted price of just $97 right now, and you get some exclusive bonuses. It's just a brilliant piece of psychological framing.
So, naturally, I chose the first option, the free one, because I wanted to see if they could actually deliver on that big promise. And you know what? They did. After the 3-hour training, my reading speed had genuinely doubled. The value was real, the promise was kept, and when that $297 charge finally hit my card, it felt totally earned. There was zero buyer's remorse.
But here's the crucial point. As great as the new skill was, the real takeaway, the big aha moment, was the business model itself. It wasn't just a masterclass in speed reading. It was a masterclass in how to get customers. I realized right then that this was a seriously powerful new way to get people to say yes.
So, let's formally break this thing down. Let's look at the strategy we just saw in action. We're calling it the pay less now or pay more later offer. And believe me, it is a total game changer.
So here's the official definition. This model gives people a really clear choice. Either pay the full price later on, but only if you're happy, or you can pay a discounted price with a bunch of valuable bonuses right now. You see why this works so well? It completely removes all the risk, all the fear from the customer's decision. It's like combining a satisfaction guarantee with a delayed payment.
And when you look at the two paths side by side, it's so clear. The pay later option feels free, right? That gets a ton of people in the door, and, this is critical, it gets their card on file. Now, once they've mentally committed, you present them with the pay now option, with that big juicy discount and some bonuses. It makes paying right away feel like the smart move. Either way you slice it, you've just acquired a new customer.
Now I know what you might be thinking. Okay, this sounds great for an online course, but it would never work for my business. Well, the real power of this model is just how versatile it is. Let's take a look at how you can apply this to some completely different industries. I mean, just look at how adaptable this is. For a real estate workshop, it could be $299 now versus $500 later, and that's your gateway to a massive $30,000 coaching upsell. For a local service, maybe a hedge trimming company, a discounted package now versus the full price later, which then smoothly converts into a recurring monthly lawn care service. Heck, it even works for physical products with a simple 14-day trial model. Okay, the theory is great, but let's be real, execution is everything. If you want to make this model work without losing your shirt, there are some non-negotiable rules you absolutely have to follow. First, and this is the most important one, your promise must be a clear yes or no result. It has to be measurable and undeniable. Double your reading speed is a simple yes or no question. Feel better? Well, that's not. If you're a therapist, you could have your patient rate their shoulder pain from 1 to 10 before and after. If the number goes down, you succeeded. See? It avoids all those messy disputes and unnecessary cancellations. Second, your satisfaction guarantee has to be conditional. This is what protects your business. A person can only cancel their payment if they meet some specific criteria. For that reading class, you had to actually attend the training. You can't just say it didn't work if you never even showed up. The trick is to make the conditions the very things a customer needs to do to get the result you promised in the first place. It's a total win-win. So, how do you know if you're getting it right? What's the magic number to watch? It's 10%. This is your critical metric. If more than 10% of your pay later customers end up canceling their payment, something in your offer is broken. Maybe you promised too much, maybe the price is too high, or maybe your guarantee conditions are just too easy. That number is your signal that it's time to adjust. And you can actively tune this thing. If not enough people are taking you up on that pay now option, we'll sweeten the deal, increase the discount, or throw in some better bonuses. And if too many are paying up front, you can actually scale back the incentives. And here's a little pro tip for live events. Hint at your big upsell offer early on. It builds curiosity and makes the final pitch feel way more natural and welcome.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here, all the way from that first story to the nitty-gritty rules of implementation. So let's boil it all down to the final, most crucial takeaways.
Here's the entire strategy in a nutshell. First, it's all about offering a choice, full price later versus a discount now. Second, that pay later path is made safe for everyone with a conditional guarantee. Third, the pay now path is made irresistible with a nice 20 to 50% discount plus some valuable bonuses. And finally, none of this works unless your core promise is a simple, measurable yes or no result.
Now, if this whole explainer has sparked your interest and you really want to become a master of this model, we've got something for you. The original author has actually created a free, much deeper training on this exact topic. Just go ahead and scan the QR code you see on your screen right now for instant access. There's no email opt-in, no hoops to jump through, just more pure value.
And that brings us to the end. I just want to leave you with one final, action-oriented question to really chew on. I want you to look at your own business, your product, or your service. What is one high-value, measurable result that you could confidently promise and then turn into a free, totally risk-free offer today?
So today, we're going to break down a really powerful concept in persuasion from author Alex Hormozi. He calls it the free goodwill offer. And what's so fascinating about it is how it frames a simple request, not for his own personal gain, but for the benefit of a complete stranger. Okay, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll get into the core question that kind of sets this whole thing up. Then we'll look at the ripple effect, how one tiny action can multiply. After that, we get to the good stuff, some incredible real-world stories of transformation. And finally, we'll look at the call to action itself and why it only takes about 60 seconds. All right, so first things first, let's really get to the foundation of this idea. See, it doesn't kick off with a big sales pitch or some kind of demand. Nope. It all starts with a very simple but really profound question that's designed to make you stop and think. I mean, this is how he hooks you, right from the jump. The framing is just brilliant. It's not about helping him. It's not about giving him any credit. It's an appeal to something deeper, this idea of pure altruism. It's a request that taps into that part of us that wants to do a good deed anonymously, just a simple act of kindness for some stranger out there who might really need it. And this image, well, it just perfectly captures the whole point. Think about it. The author has already given the gift, right? The knowledge in the book is out there. But for that gift to actually find the people who need it the most, it needs a little nudge. It needs a little push from the people who've already benefited. The initial gift is really just the start of the journey.
So let's talk about the mechanics. How does this goodwill actually get from you to that person you've never met? What's the mechanism that turns one little action into this huge, life-changing impact?
Okay, so here's the crucial point. We live in a world that is just saturated with information, right? And we all use shortcuts to make decisions. The cover of a book isn't just the picture on the front anymore. It's the ratings, it's the reviews, it's the social proof. These are the signals of trust that help other people cut through all the noise and find something that's genuinely useful.
And that is the ripple. Your review, your simple star rating, it acts like a signpost. It's a beacon that guides someone else, that struggling entrepreneur we're talking about, directly to a potential solution, a resource they might have just scrolled right past otherwise. For you, it's a simple click. For them, it could be a massive, massive discovery.
All right, now this is where it gets really, really powerful. Let's look at the actual proof, because this isn't just some theory, right? These are the real-world results. These are the stories of the strangers that you would actually be helping.
I mean, just take Danny's story. He became a quadriplegic, was living on welfare. After finding this material, he went on to make $50,000 in a single year as a freelancer. That is a complete 180 on life. Or how about Bill, a pizzeria owner? He took these ideas and built a system where his customers donate to the local food bank. And the result? Not only has his business exploded with new customers, but he's also making a huge impact in his own community. And this next one, this one shows the even wider impact. Thomas gets laid off from his job, uses these principles, and starts a tour guide business. 2 years later, he's not just supporting his own family, he's created jobs for 5 other people. That's incredible.
And you know, this ripple effect, it's global. Take a look at Simon over in Germany. He went from having 0 clients to booking 8 meetings in a single week. For him, that was everything. It completely launched his career.
And here you have Alex. He was in a serious financial hole, making less than $1,000 a month. He and his girlfriend just dove in, applied what they learned, and within 3 weeks, just 3 weeks, they signed multiple clients and completely transformed their income. That's a direct, rapid, life-altering change. And finally, Mohan's journey is just incredible. He was a struggling immigrant, buried in so much debt he thought he'd never escape. After reading the book, he quit his job just 11 days later, applied the ideas to his tutoring work, and now he's almost debt-free and doing something he actually loves. The impact for him, it was freedom.
So after seeing all of that powerful emotional proof of what's possible, the author brings it all right back to you. Suddenly, that abstract idea of helping a stranger has faces, it has stories. And this final section is a very clear, very simple call to action.
And this is the key. The ask isn't for hours of your time. It's not for any money. He argues that this is all it takes, less than 60 seconds. 60 seconds to leave a review that could start a chain reaction, one that could potentially change someone's life forever, just like the people we just heard from.
And look, to make it as easy as humanly possible, the process is broken down into these dead simple, platform-specific steps. Whether you're on Audible, Kindle, Amazon, it doesn't matter. There's a clear, direct path. It completely removes any friction, any confusion, any excuse not to do it.
Now, this line is just brilliant. This is where it shifts from just being a task to being an expression of your identity. It's a classic persuasion technique. It's not, hey, please do this for me. It's, if you're the kind of person who believes in helping others, well, here's your chance to show it. It makes the action about who you are.
And the final piece of the puzzle is an invitation. By taking that 60-second action, you're not just leaving a review, you're actually joining a community. You become part of this group of like-minded people who all believe in paying it forward and helping each other out. You're now one of us. And the entire argument just closes right here. It's not another pitch. It's a personal, authentic thank you, signed by the author himself. It completes that whole circle of goodwill. It acknowledges your contribution and ends on a note of genuine gratitude, leaving you to think about the incredible impact your 60 seconds could have. Welcome to The Explainer. All right, today we're going to talk about a strategy that is so powerful, it can literally be the difference between a business thriving or completely failing. And here's the kicker. It's not about finding more customers. Nope. It's about unlocking this hidden treasure trove of profit from the customers you already have. We're diving deep into the art of the upsell, the real secret to turning a one-time sale into a seriously profitable relationship. So here's the game plan. First, we'll look at how you get a customer in the first place. Then we'll get to the good stuff, the profit multiplier, the upsell. We'll prove it with a classic example you've definitely experienced, get into the psychology of why it works so well, and then I'll show you exactly how to do it. And stick around, because at the end, we're going to leave you with a big question for your own business. Okay, so let's dive right in. Every single business journey, every one, starts at the exact same point, with a total stranger. So how do you make that first move? How do you get them to make that all-important first purchase? So that first thing you offer someone, it's got one job, and one job only. It has to be a magnet. We call this an attraction offer. And listen, the whole point of this offer is not to make a bunch of money. Not at all. Its real job is just to pull a stranger out of the crowd and turn them into a customer. That's it. If you're lucky, you'll break even on it, but that's just a bonus. So, boom, it worked. You got them. You made the sale, you have a new customer. Awesome, right? Well, this is the exact spot where most businesses drop the ball. A huge mistake. Because see, the most critical question for the health of your business isn't how do I get the first sale? It's, okay, now what? And that now what brings us to the real engine of profit. Look, getting that first customer, that's just the ticket to the game. It's the cost of entry. The real money, the profit that actually builds a business, is made in the moments right after they say yes. This is where we flip the switch from just getting customers to actually making real profit. So the answer to that big question is the upsell offer. And it is a beautifully simple idea. An upsell is literally just the next thing you offer someone, right after they've made that initial purchase. It's as simple as that. Now, let's get one thing straight. This is not about being a slimy, pushy salesperson. Not at all. A good upsell is a total win-win. The customer gets more value, and you dramatically increase how much profit you make from that one person. And I'm not kidding. A lot of really successful businesses, they make almost all their real profit right here. Not on the first sale, but on the upsells. And you know what's crazy? You already know the most famous, most profitable upsell in the history of the world. You've heard it a million times. You just might not have ever thought about it this way before. It's a simple little question. Okay, so let's actually run the numbers. Let's see just how much money is hiding inside that one simple question. We're going to break down what we call the fries with that method to see how this works in real life. All right, first, picture this. You've got a burger joint, and they only sell one thing, their $2 burger. That's it. A customer comes in, buys the burger, and walks out. End of story. Now let's do the math. When you add up the cost of the bun, the patty, paying your employees, keeping the lights on, your profit on that $2 burger is a measly 25 cents. 25 cents. You'd have to sell a mountain of burgers just to stay in business. It's just a broken model. It's not going to work. But what happens when they ask that one little question and then maybe add a soda to make it a meal? Well, something kind of magical happens. The profit from that exact same customer leaps from 25 cents all the way to $2. That's an 8 times jump in profit from a single transaction, just like that. And they don't even have to stop there. They add one more tiny little upsell. Want to supersize that for just $1 more? If the customer says yes, bang, the profit from that single person jumps again to $3. Just think about that for a second. We went from a pathetic 25 cents to $3 whole. That's a 12 times increase in profit. all from the same person. Now you've got a real profitable business. And that right there is the whole point in a nutshell. Your main product, the thing you sell the most of, that's usually not where the real money is. The actual sustainable profit, the kind that lets you grow, comes from the second and the third and the fourth thing you offer to somebody who's already in buy mode. Okay, so why is this so incredibly effective? It feels like a magic trick, right? But it's not magic. There's a really simple but powerful bit of psychology going on here, and it has nothing to do with just cramming more products down someone's throat. Okay, here's the secret sauce. Every single time you solve a problem for someone, you actually create a new related problem. Think about it. You just sold them a burger to solve their hunger problem. Awesome. But now what? Now they're thirsty. A great upsell just offers the solution to that brand new problem. It's not pushy. It's helpful. It's the absolute logical next step for them. And this is exactly why so many upsells just fall flat. They fail because the offer is totally random or the timing is all wrong, but they work, and I mean, they work like gangbusters, when they solve that next logical problem, when they're offered immediately after that first yes, and when they feel like you're actually helping the customer take the next step. All right, so how do you actually do this? Let's turn this into a super practical playbook. I'm going to show you the proven ways to figure out what to offer next. Okay, there are basically 3 proven ways to structure your upsells. Super simple. Number 1, more of the same. Think quantity. Hey, why get 1 when you can get 2 for a better price? Number 2, a better version. This is all about quality. You're upgrading them from the standard to the premium model. And number 3, something complimentary. This is the classic, this is your fries and soda with a burger play. It's the thing that just makes sense. Okay, now we're at the most important part of this whole thing. Because all this theory is fine and dandy, but it's useless unless you can apply it to your world. So it's time to figure out, what's your version of fries with that? All right, let's wrap this up with the key takeaways. Your first offer, that just gets them in the door. It's the upsells that actually create the real profit. Remember, that first sale is just the beginning, it's not the end. A good upsell always solves the next problem, so it feels helpful, not sleazy. And honestly, without upsells, a ton of businesses you know and love just wouldn't be around. It's that critical. So I'm going to leave you with this one final thought. You've already done the hardest part. You got the customer to say yes once. So the big question is, what's next? What is that simple, logical, and really profitable question that you need to start asking your customers right at that perfect moment? What is your, do you want fries with that? All right, let's talk about one of the most powerful sales strategies you can possibly use. It really all comes down to a single, kind of weird question. Today, we are breaking down the classic upsell. It's a technique that can seriously boost your profits, like right away. And for me, it all started with a story about fur coats and a very strange question. You don't want to store anything else, do you? I mean, it sounds like the complete opposite of a sales pitch, right? But that exact phrase is a masterclass in psychology that I learned from a 4th-generation fur coat dealer. And trust me, understanding why that works is the key to unlocking a ton of profit in your own business. So here's the game plan for today. We're going to start with that fur coat secret, then we'll nail down what a classic upsell really is. After that, we'll get into the X without Y formula, cover some key tactics, look at a pretty advanced pricing trick, and then wrap up with your next big move. Okay, so this whole lesson came from a mentor I had when I was a kid. This guy was a business genius. You know the type. He could be sitting in a restaurant, look at a piece of salmon on his plate, and break down its entire business model right there at the table. He just saw profit opportunities everywhere. So over that dinner, he starts telling me about his son, who's the 5th generation in their family business, and how his son had this idea that was just making them an absolute killing. And the best part, it was just so beautifully simple. So here's the trick. They'd advertise free earmuffs as a little bonus when you stored your fur coat with them for the summer. But when the customer actually came in, the script would flip. They'd say, and we can store those new earmuffs for you as well. It's just $30. They literally invented a new problem for the customer. Where do I keep these free earmuffs? And then immediately sold them the solution. It's just pure genius. And that right there is a perfect example of a classic upsell. See, it's not about just trying to push more products on people. It's about anticipating what the customer's next problem is going to be and having the solution ready to go before they even realize they have it. Think of it like a puzzle. Your main product, it solves a big problem for your customer. But in solving that problem, it creates a new, smaller one, like an empty space on the puzzle board. The upsell is that one perfect piece that just clicks right into that new space, giving the customer the complete picture they didn't even know they were missing. And this is why the timing is absolutely everything. A really great upsell isn't just offered whenever. No, it's presented at the exact moment the customer becomes aware of that next little problem. When you get that right, it doesn't even feel like a sale. It feels like you're reading their mind because you understood their journey even better than they did. Okay, so how do we do this over and over again? Well, it pretty much boils down to a super simple but really powerful formula I like to call X without Y. This is the core logic that makes an upsell feel essential, not just like an optional add-on. And it works in any industry. Just look at how this plays out. You get your car washed, right? But now you have a new problem. That clean car isn't protected. So the upsell becomes, well, you can't have a truly clean car without a sealant. Or you buy a bike, but now you have a safety problem. You can't have a bike without a helmet. Or you buy an exercise course, but you're not getting results. Why? Because you can't out-exercise bad nutrition. See? In every single case, the upsell completes the original purchase. It's a pattern that just works everywhere. Okay, so now we get the what and the why. Let's get into the how. We're going to talk about some real, actionable tactics you can start using pretty much immediately. This is where the theory turns into actual profit. And please don't underestimate how huge this is. You know, there's a saying that if you only sell one thing, you don't really have a business. You just have a front-end offer. The second a company adds its first logical upsell, it is not uncommon to see revenue just explode, sometimes by as much as 5 times. It's really that transformative. All right. Let's circle back to that fur dealer's incredible question. You don't want anything else, do you? It just feels so backward, right? You're practically asking them to say no. But that's exactly why it is a psychological masterstroke. It taps into years of social conditioning. I mean, think about it. Since we were kids, we've been conditioned to give that automatic no thanks whenever a salesperson asks, anything else for you today? The furrier's question flips this whole thing on its head. By phrasing it as, you don't want anything else, do you? Our automatic no suddenly means, no, I don't want anything else, other than what you just sold me. It brilliantly turns our conditioned no into a yes. It's just so clever. So let's run through a few more pro tips. First up, surprise and delight. Don't hold back your bonuses. If a customer buys, give them everything. It builds incredible goodwill. Second, use freebies strategically, just like the earmuffs, to actually create the problem that your upsell is going to solve. Third, remember that speed is value. The faster you deliver, the more valuable your product feels, so make your upsells instantly available. And finally, bundle and name your offers. A single total transformation package is so much easier to sell than 9 separate little things. Now, this next one is absolutely crucial, especially for service businesses. It's called BAM FAM. Book a meeting from a meeting. Always, always, never, ever end a client meeting without having the next one on the calendar. Every single meeting is a chance to solve a new problem, and that means every meeting is a new upsell opportunity. Okay, ready for a more advanced technique? Let's talk about how you can actually structure your prices to kind of gently guide your customers towards the exact option you want them to buy. The concept is called the magnetic middle. So this is the magnetic middle. The basic idea is to use one of your prices as a decoy to make another option look like an absolutely incredible deal. If you have ever bought popcorn at a movie theater, you have already experienced this firsthand, and you can 100% use it in your business. Okay, check this out. On the left side, our goal is to sell more of the large option. So the small is $5, the large is $9. But look at the medium. It's $8. So for just $1 more, you can get the large? Of course you're going to do that. The large becomes a total no-brainer. Now look at the right. Our goal is to sell more of the medium. This time we price the medium at $6, just $1 more than the small. All of a sudden, the medium looks like the clear winner on value. You are literally using that middle price as a magnet to pull the customer's choice right where you want it. All right, we have covered a ton of ground, from sales psychology all the way to pricing strategy. So let's boil all this down into the 4 key moves you can make in your business, like right now. So here are the 4 big takeaways. Number 1, always solve the next problem, the one your first product creates. 2, use that slick say no to say yes phrasing to make buying the easiest option. 3, master decoy pricing with the magnetic middle to make your best offer the most obvious choice. And 4, if you're in a service business, never, ever forget to BFMM. Always keep that conversation going. And this is the final thought I really want to leave you with. Take a good, hard look at what you sell. Your product, it solves one specific problem. But what new, secondary problem does that solution create? Because the answer to that question, that's where you're going to find your next and very likely your most profitable upsell.
Today, we're going to break down a sales technique that is so powerful, it honestly doesn't even feel like selling. It's a system that was born from, well, total failure and a bunch of accidental discoveries that ended up generating millions. Let's get into it.
Just imagine this for a second. You've been working all day, you've talked to 19 potential customers, one right after the other, and every single one of them says no. That's the kind of soul-crushing day where our story begins. And you know what? That frustration, it sparked a complete revolution in how to think about sales.
So, that's the big question, right? How do you go from that rock-bottom moment to creating a simple 4-step system that completely flips the script between a buyer and a seller? Well, we're going to follow that exact journey.
All right, so let's set the scene. It's December 2013. The author is running his gym, he's trying to sell supplements on the side, and it is going horribly. He's trying all the conventional tactics, the stuff everyone tells you to do, but nothing is working.
And I mean, he tried everything. He thought, okay, maybe if I have full shelves, people will want to buy. Nope. Maybe if I explain all the complex science behind the products. That didn't work either. He got so desperate that loyal gym members were buying stuff just because they felt sorry for him. He had completely hit a wall. And then, appointment number 20 walks through the door. After 19 straight rejections, he's just defeated. He's nervous, he's exhausted, and he completely forgets his sales script. And right there, in that moment of desperation, everything changed.
This is the question that broke the spell. Instead of asking, do you want to buy a protein shake, which is just a yes or no trap, he accidentally skipped that part and asked which one she wanted. And she just picked one, just like that. A sale was made, and he never even asked for it.
And that became the very first pillar of this whole system, A/B upselling. By framing the conversation around a preference, chocolate or vanilla, morning or afternoon, you just sidestep that whole yes or no decision. The question completely shifts from if they'll buy to what they'll buy. It's subtle, but it's a huge deal.
So he's feeling pretty good about this breakthrough, right? He's finally moving to the checkout. And again, totally by accident, he stumbles onto the next piece of the puzzle. He doesn't ask, so how would you like to pay? He just makes it as easy as possible.
The key here is all about removing friction. Every time you ask a customer to pull out their wallet and find their credit card, you're giving them a little moment of hesitation, a chance to back out. But by simply referring to a card they already have on file, you make saying yes the easiest possible path. It's seamless.
Okay, let's jump forward a little bit to August 2014. These A/B and card-on-file tactics, they're working. Sales are finally consistent. But then, a new challenge walks in, this time in the form of a customer who just would not stop asking questions.
I mean, she wanted to know everything. Exactly when to take stuff, how many, what to do if she was at work, what to do on a Tuesday, you get the picture. Just to save time and get to his next appointment, he grabs a piece of scratch paper and just scribbles it all down. Take one of these at night, 2 of these after lunch.
Now this is where it gets really interesting. The very next appointment, who had kind of overheard the whole thing, sits down and asks for the exact same thing. She didn't want a sales pitch. She wanted the prescription.
And boom, another light bulb moment. This is the next tactic, prescription upselling. You stop suggesting things and you start prescribing them. You explain how to use the products as if the purchase is already a done deal. This automatically positions you as the expert, and it shifts the customer's brain from, should I buy this, to, okay, how will I use this?
Okay, fast forward one more time to November 2016. The system is getting pretty refined by now, but a new problem leads to the final and, honestly, the most counterintuitive discovery of all. He starts running out of stuff to sell.
So a customer comes in and asks for the same package the person before her got, but some of it's sold out. Now, instead of trying to push what he had left, he did something that sounds kind of crazy. He started telling her what she didn't need. He even suggested she could get a similar, though not as good, product down the street.
And then he took it even further. He looked at the order form, saw a weight gainer shake, and was like, "You're not trying to gain weight, right?" And he just crossed it out. Then he did the same thing with a testosterone booster. Can you imagine? With every single item he crossed out, he was building more and more trust. She could see right there in real time that he was on her side.
This is unselling, and it might be the most powerful psychological tool of them all. By telling people what not to buy, you build instant credibility. It proves you care more about their success than you do about your sale. And that goodwill makes them incredibly receptive when you finally tell them what they do need. So after all those years of trial and error, these 4 accidental discoveries finally came together to form one simple, elegant, and cohesive framework, the menu upsell.
And here it is, the complete 4-step process. You start by unselling to build that crucial trust. Then you prescribe the solution with authority. Next, you give them an A or B choice to make the decision feel like their own. And finally, you make it incredibly easy for them to pay.
This slide just shows that flow perfectly. You're basically guiding them on a journey. You narrow their focus by crossing things out, then you give them a clear plan, a simple choice, and a totally frictionless checkout. It's not a high-pressure pitch, it's a guided service.
And look, don't think for a second that this only works for gym supplements. This framework is universal. It applies to basically anything. You're a massage therapist? Unsell the irrelevant massage types. Selling dog food? Cross out the puppy formula for a big dog. Selling a digital product? Tell them they don't need all 8 courses right now. It just works. Now you want a pro tip? Let's get a little more advanced with that A-B choice step. This is a classic move known as the economist play. Normally, if you offer 2 options, one cheap, one more expensive, most people are just going to pick the cheaper one. But if you introduce a third, decoy option, something really interesting happens. So check this out. The Economist used to have a $59 digital-only subscription and a $125 bundle for digital and print. Most people just chose the cheaper one, so they added a decoy, a print-only subscription for the same price as the bundle, $125. Suddenly that bundle looks like an incredible deal. You're basically getting the digital version for free. Sales for the bundle just skyrocketed. It's a brilliant way to nudge customers toward the choice you want them to make.
So there you have it, a complete system built over a decade of painful lessons and some really lucky breakthroughs. You now have the entire blueprint. The only real question left is, what are you going to do with it?
Have you ever done this? You walk into a store, you've got a number in your head, a firm budget, and you walk out having spent like 5 times what you planned. But here's the crazy part. You feel good about it. It's a weird feeling, right? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the powerful psychological trick that makes this happen, and it all starts with a story about buying a suit. So picture this. It's 2016. The author of our source material, he's just started a new business. He's been living in sweats and tank tops for years, and a friend finally tells him, dude, you gotta look the part. So he decides it's time to invest in a real boss suit. He sets a budget of $500, which, for him at that moment, felt like a fortune, and he heads to this local suit shop his friend recommended. He walks in, and the owner's already expecting him. So right away, the vibe is premium, you know? After a little bit of small talk, some measurements, the owner pulls out 2 suits. He tries on the first one, and you know that feeling when you put something on and it just clicks? Yeah. He felt cool, he felt confident, he felt like $1 million. The suit was, in a word, perfect. So he's just standing there, checking himself out in the mirror, feeling on top of the world. The owner's talking about ties and shoes, but he's barely even listening. He's sold. This is the one. While the owner steps away for a second, he figures, okay, let's just check the damage. He reaches down, feeling pretty smug about his $500 budget, and he flips over that little white tag. $16,000. His face just goes beet red. All that coolness gone. instantly replaced with pure, uncut horror and embarrassment. I mean, his friend set this whole thing up, the owner made time for him, and he couldn't even afford a single button on this jacket. He's just looking at the floor, trying to disappear, but it's too late. The owner saw the whole thing. And this, right here, is where the magic happens. The owner, who's a total pro, he comes to the rescue. He just calmly says, "Hey, do you care about the designer much?" Before our guy can even finish saying, "Not at all," the owner is putting that second suit on his shoulders. He tries it on. It looks great. He peeks up a price tag, $2,200. Now look, that's still way over his $500 budget, but compared to 16 grand, it felt like the deal of the century. Just a huge wave of relief. He said, "I'll take this one." Didn't even hesitate. He even tacked on another $300 in accessories. So in the end, he spent 5 times his original budget. And the incredible part is, he felt totally okay with it. He felt like he got a good deal. It was only way later that he figured it out. He'd been expertly guided through a sales technique called the price anchor. So, what in the world just happened there? That wasn't just some slick sales pitch. It was a masterclass in human psychology. Let's break down exactly what price anchoring is all about. The anchor upsell is actually brilliantly simple in its design. You start things off by presenting a premium, often shockingly high-priced option. That first price you hear, it becomes an anchor in your mind. It sets this really high reference point for value. So then, when the salesperson introduces their actual main offer at a lower price, it seems way more reasonable. Heck, it can even feel cheap, just by comparison. Okay, this diagram here breaks it down perfectly. On the left, you've got the initial offer, right? It's got 3 parts, A, B, and C, and the price is high. The customer gasps. But here's the genius move. That C component is something most people don't actually care about, like, say, a fancy designer label. So the salesperson just removes it, the price drops like a rock, and all of a sudden, A plus B feels like an unbelievable bargain. And this quote, this really gets to the heart of the whole philosophy. Think about it. If you make an offer that's too high for someone, you might lose that one sale, maybe $100. But if you make an offer that's too low for someone who is ready and willing to spend more, you just left all that potential profit on the table, in this case, $900. By starting high, that suit salesman protected himself from making that much bigger mistake. And this isn't just some abstract theory, It's a repeatable 5-step playbook that you can use. So let's walk through how you can execute the perfect anchor upsell yourself. Okay, here we go. Step 1, you present the anchor. That's your $16,000 suit. Step 2, you wait for the gasp, that crucial moment of sticker shock. Step 3, you come to the rescue, saving them from that crazy price by asking if they really need that one premium feature. Step 4, you present your main offer, which now looks like an amazing value. And finally, step 5, you close the deal by just asking something simple like, "Which card would you like to use?" And what's so cool is that this works for pretty much anything, not just suits. Take a look. For a lawn care service, the anchor could be a $1,000 a week package where you get the owner's personal cell phone number. The main offer, $200 a week for the team's number. For a painter, the anchor is $1,000 with a 20-year insurance policy. The main offer is $200 with a 1-year policy. You can even do it with a digital newsletter, $199 a month for the entire back catalog or just $19 for the new issues. Now, knowing the steps is one thing, but the execution, that's everything. So let's get into the pro tips. We're going to focus on that make or break moment, mastering the gasp. This right here is probably the most important rule of all. Authenticity is absolutely everything. If you present your premium anchor offer like it's just some ridiculous fake option that you don't actually expect anyone to buy, the customer will see right through it. The whole psychological effect just crumbles. You lose their trust, and the whole thing fails. So how do you make it feel authentic? First, you have to genuinely sell it. You have to believe in the value of that premium offer. A friend of the author actually struggled with this until he changed his premium package into something he would be excited to deliver if someone bought it. And guess what? People started buying it, and his profits tripled. You can't just go through the motions. You have to wait for the customer to really consider it, to pause or hesitate. That is your cue to pivot. So let's really dig into the gasp. It's that split second of panic when the customer sees the price. And your first instinct is probably to feel awkward, right? But you have to totally reframe that in your mind. The gasp is actually a good thing. And here's why. The gasp is proof that your anchor is working. It means the customer's perception of value has just been reset dramatically. In fact, the author realized that the bigger the gasp, the more the customer usually ended up buying. It's your signal to swoop in and be the hero with your main offer. And hey, what if they don't gasp? Well, that's great news too. It probably means they think your premium price is reasonable, and you might be about to make a much bigger sale than you expected. Now, the real art to this lies in how you structure the two offers. You want the main offer to feel like it's basically the same thing for way less money. The trick is to keep the primary features the same and only change the secondary premium features. A suit is a suit. That's the primary feature. The designer label, the specific fabric from a remote village, those are secondary. By just removing those secondary things, you make the main offer seem like an absolute no-brainer. Okay, so we know anchoring helps you sell your main offer more effectively. But there's a hidden and maybe even more profitable reason why this strategy is such a huge winner. This chart just brilliantly illustrates that financial risk we were talking about. Look at this. If you offer a $1,000 product to someone with a $100 budget, you might lose out on a $100 sale. Bummer. But now look at that second bar. If you offer a $100 product to someone who is secretly ready to spend $1,000, you just left $900 on the table. You lose so much more by under-offering than you do by over-offering. And here it is, the hidden bonus of the anchor upsell. Sure, most of your customers, maybe 80%, will buy the main offer, but a small percentage, let's say just 5%, they'll actually buy the super expensive anchor. And because that price is so high, that tiny little slice of your customers can end up contributing a massive portion of your total profit. It's a total win-win. Most people get a great deal, and you capture the maximum value from your high-end buyers. So let's just quickly wrap this all up. What have we learned? Using an anchor upsell means more people are going to buy your main offer because it just looks like a much better deal. The customers you do get will often spend more than they planned, just like the guy in the suit shop. A small but really important number of customers will actually buy that expensive anchor, giving your profits a huge boost. And maybe most importantly, when you do it with genuine belief in your offers, it actually builds trust instead of breaking it. And that brings us to one final thought. Now that you know the secret, now that you can see how the trick works, think back. The car dealership, the menu at a fancy restaurant, that software subscription page. Where have you seen the anchor upsell used on you? Because I promise, once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Okay, let's get right into it. We are going to break down a single business strategy that could totally change how you make money. Seriously, it can shift you from that constant grind of chasing one-off sales to actually building a predictable, recurring revenue machine. It's called the Rollover Upsell, and trust me, it might just flip the way you think about your business on its head.
Does this sound familiar? The first of the month rolls around, and boom, your revenue counter is right back at zero. It's this exhausting hamster wheel, right? You're always hunting for new customers just to keep the lights on. That feeling, that stress of starting from scratch every single month, it's a huge burden for so many entrepreneurs.
You know, this quote right here, this comes from the author's own story. He was running a gym and he had this amazing offer that was packing the place. I mean, from the outside, it looked like a massive success. But behind the curtain, it was a totally different story. He had tons of people, yeah, but almost no predictable income. The business was built on a house of cards.
So what was this amazing offer? It was a win your money back program. Get this, people would pay $600 for a fitness program, and if they hit their goal, they got all of it back. Genius for getting people in the door, right? But here was the fatal flaw. Most people who won would just use that $600 to cover a few months of membership. And then, poof, they were gone. Right before their first real payment was ever due. He was basically running a free gym.
So he's completely frustrated, totally stressed out, and he notices a friend of his, Justin, who was running a similar kind of offer but was just absolutely killing it with recurring revenue. He had to know the secret. So he goes over to his friend's gym, spends 2 whole days there, just watching everything, trying to figure out what he was doing so differently. But he couldn't see it. He couldn't find the magic trick.
And this is where everything changed. It wasn't some crazy complex marketing funnel or some massive difference in how they operated. Nope. It all came down to a single conversation. Just a simple question that completely reframed the whole problem and revealed this incredibly brilliant solution. So he finally asked his friend, "Hey, how do you handle giving away all that free time when people win your challenge?" And his friend just laughs at him, says he doesn't give away any free time. And when he pressed him, his friend hits him with this absolute gem of a question. And that's the whole mindset shift right there. It's not about giving things away for free. It's about making sure you always have paying customers.
And light bulb moment. The secret was so simple, it was genius. You don't give the $600 back as cash or as a few free months. Instead, you say, hey, congratulations, you won. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take your $600 prize and we're going to apply it as a $50 discount every single month for the next year. The customer still gets their big reward, but you just turned a one-time customer into a long-term, committed, paying member.
And look, this wasn't just some small tweak to his business. The author is clear. This one simple strategy completely transformed his business and really his whole life. It took him from that month-to-month panic to running a stable, profitable company with income he could actually count on. And the best part is, this is a strategy you can use in almost any business.
So let's put a pin in it and define this thing. The rollover upsell is when you take money a customer has already spent with you and you apply it as a credit towards their next, bigger purchase. It's psychologically powerful because it's not framed as a new cost. It's framed as a smart way to use the money they've already invested with you. It feels like they're using house money.
Okay, so how do you actually do this? Well, it really just boils down to answering 3 simple questions. First, who are you going to make this offer to? Second, what is the bigger, better, more expensive thing you're going to sell them? And third, how are you going to apply that credit? Is it all at once or do you spread it out over time?
All right, the theory is great, but let's see how this thing actually works in the real world. We're going to walk through 4 completely different examples so you can see just how flexible and powerful this strategy really is.
Okay, first up, let's talk about a service business, like a chiropractor. The mission here is what we call a win-back campaign. We're trying to bring old patients, the ones who haven't been in for a while, back into the business.
So here's the breakdown. The WHO, any patient you haven't seen in over 6 months. The what, you're going to offer them a new high-value wellness plan, something better than what they were doing before. And the how? You pick up the phone and say, hey, as a thank you for being a patient in the past, I want to give you a $500 credit from what you've already paid us towards this new plan. See? You're using their past spending to lock in a future sale.
All right, next scenario. This is one every business owner fears, the unhappy customer. But instead of just giving them a refund and losing them forever, you can use the rollover to turn a really bad experience into a really good and more profitable one. So imagine this. Someone just paid $200 for a cleaning, and they're not happy. Your new offer, your what, is a premium teeth whitening package. Now here's where the magic happens. Instead of refunding their money, you say, you know what, I completely understand you're not happy. Let's do this. Let's apply the full $200 you just paid towards our premium whitening package. You solve their problem, you save the customer, and you just made a bigger sale. It's a total win.
Okay, this next play is a little aggressive. Some might even call it devious. This is where you use the rollover concept to actively steal unhappy customers directly from your competition. You find their pain points and position your business as the obvious hero.
So your WHO here is anyone who's online leaving bad reviews for your competitor's software. Your what is a long-term contract with your, obviously, superior product. And the how? Oh, this is good. You reach out and say, hey, I saw you're having a tough time with your current provider. To make it a no-brainer to switch, we will literally credit you for whatever you still owe on your old contract. You just removed all the friction for them to switch. It's a little nasty, but wow, is it effective.
So we've seen the playbooks. We know how it works. Now let's get into a couple of pro tips that are going to make this strategy even more powerful and, more importantly, more profitable for you.
I mean, just think about the difference here. When a customer is upset and you give them a refund, what happens? You lose the customer and cash literally leaves your business. Your cash flow is negative. But with a rollover, you save the customer relationship and you actually generate positive cash flow because you're upselling them. It's a win-win. So the key takeaway here is always try a rollover before you even think about offering a refund.
Okay, now let's talk about pricing. How do you make sure you're actually making money with this strategy? Well, there's a really simple rule of thumb, and it all comes down to one little number, 4. It's called the 4x rule, and it's simple. Whatever amount you're giving as a credit, the new offer needs to be priced at least 4 times that amount. So if you're giving a $200 credit, that new package needs to cost at least $800. This is your safety net. It guarantees that even if you're crediting the full amount of their first purchase, it's never more than a 25% discount on the new, bigger sale. You're always profitable.
All right, let's wrap this up with one last absolutely brilliant way to use this idea. This is a special play that uses the rollover concept to turn your own customers into a paid referral army.
I know, this sounds completely insane, right? How can you sell a $200 gift card for just $20 and not lose your shirt?
Well, there's one simple, crucial catch. The person who buys it can't use it themselves. They have to give it away. And in doing so, they create a super warm introduction to a brand new customer for you.
Let's break down how genius this is. Step 1, you sell a $200 gift card for only $20. Your happy customers scoop these up to give as awesome gifts. Step 2, they literally hand deliver a new, pre-qualified lead right to your door. And then, step 3, when that new person comes in with their $200 card, you use the 4X rule and you roll that $200 value into a new offer worth at least $1,000. Your original customer paid you $20 to bring you a new customer who then spends $1,000 with you. It's absolutely brilliant.
So, let's just end on this thought. The rollover upsell really forces you to rethink everything you know about discounts, refunds, and customer value. Instead of seeing money going out the door as a loss, this strategy teaches you to see it as an investment in a future, much bigger sale. So the question I want to leave you with is this: what value is already hiding in your customer's purchase history that you can roll forward into your next big win?
All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle the most common and maybe the most feared word in sales: no. What you do right after you hear it can make or break everything. It can either kill a deal for good, or, believe it or not, it can open up a brand new opportunity. Let's dive in. So picture this. You've just laid out a fantastic offer. Maybe you even tried an upsell trying to pack in more value. And then you hit that wall. They say no. Well, this is the moment, that exact fork in the road, where having a smart downsell strategy becomes your absolute best friend. So I've got to ask you, and be honest with yourself, what's your game plan for that little 2-letter word? Do you just kind of pack it in and walk away, maybe get a little defensive? Or do you actually have a prepared strategy to turn that no into something productive? Because let's be real, if you're just winging it, you might be making a huge mistake.
And that brings us to the biggest, most common, and honestly, most destructive reaction to hearing no. It's a move that feels kind of natural in the heat of the moment, but it can absolutely poison the well for any future business. Let's look at a perfect example of what not to do.
Okay, so a friend of mine was buying a car, and you know how it goes. The salesman tries to upsell them on some car insurance. The first offer he throws out there is a cool $5,000. My friend, pretty reasonably, says no. So far, so normal, right? But this is where the whole thing just goes completely off the rails. The salesman doesn't ask why. He doesn't offer a different plan. He just starts slashing the price. That $5,000 becomes $4,000, then $3,000. He just keeps going until the exact same insurance policy is suddenly on the table for only $400.
And here's the kicker. My friend ended up saying no to everything, even at that crazy low price. And you have to ask, why? It's simple, really. The trust was totally shot. All those desperate price drops just made them think, wait a minute, was I getting ripped off from the start? Not just on this insurance, but on the whole car?
This really gets to the heart of the problem. That salesman was just discounting. He was offering the very same thing for less money, and all that does is make people suspicious. The right way to do it is downselling, where you offer a different thing for less money. It sounds similar, but that one little change is the key to building trust instead of completely wrecking it.
So, enough about what not to do. Let's pivot and talk about the right way to handle a no. This is the smart alternative, the strategic way to turn what feels like a rejection into a really productive conversation.
So what exactly is a downsell offer? Well, try not to think of it as just a price cut. It's more like a team effort. You're actually working with your customer to redesign the offer, maybe tweaking what they get or changing how they pay for it, all to find that sweet spot between value and their budget.
And here's a really simple but powerful way to think about it. Anytime you make an offer after someone has already said no to your first one, that's a downsell, period. Seeing it this way changes everything. It's not a failure, it's just the next logical step in the process.
Now, to pull this off right, you can't just make it up as you go. You need a framework. The source material actually lays out 5 really clear rules that make up a successful downsell strategy. So let's walk through them one by one.
Okay, here's the bird's eye view. This is basically your new playbook for when you hear no. We're going to dig into each one, but just notice the theme here. It's all about respect, it's about value, and it's about working together. It's the total opposite of desperation. Let's start with what might be the biggest mental shift you need to make. When a customer says no, it is not a personal attack. They're not rejecting you. They're not even necessarily rejecting your company. They're simply saying no to the very specific mix of features and price you just put in front of them.
And that's the whole game changer right there. A no isn't a dead end. It's actually data. It's your cue to learn more about what they really want so you can put a better offer on the table. No for this just means you haven't found the yes for something else yet.
Okay, rule number 2. This one is absolutely fundamental if you want to protect the value of what you're selling and your own credibility for that matter. A downsell is not a giveaway. It's a negotiation, plain and simple. It's a trade. It's the heart of any fair deal, isn't it? If you're going to give something up, like a lower price point, you need to get something in return. Maybe that means removing a feature or changing the payment terms. It keeps things balanced and shows that your original offer had real value.
See, that no is actually a gift. It's giving you priceless information about what the customer doesn't want. Rule number 3 is all about using that info to build a new, better offer instead of just trying to strong-arm them into the old one.
It's just about listening. If they say the price is too high, okay, what if we offer a version with fewer bells and whistles? If they seem hesitant about one particular part of the package, what if we offer it without that part? You're not pressuring them, you're solving their problem. You're showing them you actually heard them.
All right, rule number 4 is all about getting creative. Being good at downselling doesn't mean you need to go out and invent 100 different products. No way. It just means you have to find clever new ways to package up the stuff you already have. So, could you maybe bundle your services in a different way? Or what about offering a smaller, entry-level version of your main product? Could you take one feature and sell it as a standalone thing? It's really just about being flexible with what you've already got in your toolkit. And here we are, full circle, right back to that car salesman. This final rule is the ultimate warning against that trust-killing mistake of just dropping your price. Look, if someone wants your premium package for the price of your basic one, that's not your problem to solve. Don't devalue your own work just to make a sale. Okay, so we've got the mindset, we've got the rules, now what? Let's get practical. What does this actually look like when you're in a conversation with a customer? Let's break down some specific moves you can make. When you boil it all down, the practical side of this comes in a few key flavors. It's all about figuring out what lever you're willing to pull in the offer. Are you going to change what they get, or are you going to change how they pay for it?
For instance, you could change how they pay, maybe by offering a payment plan to spread out the cost, or a trial period so they can test it out. Or you can change what they get by stripping out a few features for a lower price or offering a completely different lower-tier product. These are actual tactics you can map out for your business right now.
So, at the end of the day, here's what it all comes down to. No is not the end of the story. It's not a failure. When you have a real downsell strategy in place, rejection is just a signal. It's a sign to pivot, to listen a little closer, and to find a new way to deliver value. It's your chance to build a relationship, not just make a sale.
All right, let's talk about the one phrase every single person in sales, well, kind of dreads hearing. You know the one, I can't afford it. It just feels like a brick wall, right? The end of the road. But what if it's not? What if that's actually the start of a totally different conversation? Today, we're going to break down the playbook for turning that dreaded phrase into a done deal.
Wow. To really get why this strategy is so powerful, you have to understand the pressure cooker it was created in. This isn't some theory from a business textbook. This quote, this is a feeling of pure desperation, the feeling that your entire life is riding on every single phone call. And you know what? That's the kind of pressure that forces you to get creative. And yeah, that's exactly where our story kicks off, not in a fancy boardroom, but in a moment of sheer panic. We're going to see how the simple, desperate need to pay the rent led to a sales technique that has now brought in tens of millions of dollars. So let's just paint a picture here, because the pressure is real. Imagine this. It's August 2013. You're 1 month into your brand new business. You've got just enough money in the bank to cover next month's rent, and that is it. After a whole week of work, you've only made a couple of sales. The clock is ticking, and we're not talking about failing in some abstract sense. We're talking about the very real possibility of not having a place to live. So there it is, the moment everything changes. A potential customer says the dreaded words, I can't afford it. Normally, that's game over, right? You say, okay, thanks, and you hang up. But with rent breathing down your neck, desperation takes over,
and a totally different question pops out, something completely off script. Okay, when do you get paid? That one simple question changed the entire game.
And this kicked off a negotiation. But notice, this was never about dropping the price. It was all about changing the timing. The first idea, half now, half on payday? Nope. A third down over 3 payments? Still no. But then came the magic question. What can you do? See how that shifts things? It empowers the customer, and they came back with the perfect solution. I can't do anything now, but I can pay you in full on the first of the month. Boom, deal. And just like that, the very first payment plan was created out of thin air.
So, that one single sale sparked a whole new strategy called the No Thanks Gambit. Now, let's get something straight right away. When we say downsell, you're probably thinking of offering a cheaper, not as good product. That is not what this is about. This is way, way smarter.
And this is basically what it looks like in practice. The customer hits you with a no thanks, probably because of that big upfront price tag. But instead of walking away, you just pivot. You go down a ladder of options. You've got layaway, a 50-50 split, a 3-payment plan. You're just trying different keys until one fits the lock. The no magically turns into a deal, and you never had to slash your price.
Okay, so let's put a pin in it and get a really clear definition here. A payment plan downsell is simply offering the exact same product for the exact same total price. The only thing that changes is you're letting the customer spread that cost out over time. The whole goal is just to make that first payment feel a lot less painful.
Right, and here's the big aha moment. The core psychology that makes this whole thing work. When someone says it costs too much, what they're usually saying is, whoa, that costs too much for me to pay right now all at once. It's a cash flow problem, not a value problem. And once you truly get that difference, you unlock a ton of sales you were probably just letting walk away.
Okay, so the concept makes sense, but how do you actually do it without getting tied in knots or losing money? Well, that's what this 7-step playbook is all about. It's a system, and it's designed to start with what's best for you and work its way down to what's most flexible for your customer.
So here's the roadmap, the whole shebang. We kick things off by framing the price the right way. Then we look at ways to get you paid in full immediately. Now, we're not going to dissect every single one, but we are going to hit the absolute most important parts. How to start the conversation, how to protect your cash flow, and maybe the most crucial step of all, a little check-in to make sure you're even on the right track.
First up, and this is huge, it's all about psychology. The old way, it feels like a penalty, right? Like you're being punished for needing to split up the payments. But the new way, it's genius. You flip the script. You set the price at $15, and then you offer the pay in full option as a reward, a special discount for paying today. The numbers are exactly the same, but the feeling is completely different. It makes prepaying feel like the smart thing to do.
Okay, step 2 is a big one for your own peace of mind. Before you start taking on the risk yourself, try to use other people's money first. Think about it. You can offer third-party financing. Then they pay you, and the customer pays them back. It's not your problem. You can even just remind them that using their credit card is essentially them setting up their own payment plan. And of course, there's good old-fashioned layaway. Zero risk for you. In all these cases, you get paid and you don't have to worry about chasing down payments.
All right, this next one is absolutely critical. It's like a safety valve in the conversation. Before you go too far down this road, you have to stop and do what's called the want check. You've got to ask them straight up. On a scale from 1 to 10, how bad do you really want this? Because you need to figure out, are we dealing with a money problem or a want problem? If they say 8, 9, or 10, great, keep going. But if it's a 7 or less, a payment plan isn't going to fix that.
So, once you've got the fundamentals down, you can start adding some pro-level moves to your game. These are the little tweaks that really help you maximize your profit and cut down on your risk.
First one is called Seesaw Downselling, and the name is perfect. It's awesome if you just want a simpler, more fluid process. Instead of a rigid step-by-step thing, you turn it into a partnership. You just say, hey, the more you can put down today, the lower I can make your monthly payments. It becomes a team effort, both of you working together to find that perfect balance on the seesaw.
Okay, this next one is just plain smart. It's a way to get your cash faster. See, just because someone started on a payment plan doesn't mean their financial situation is stuck there forever. So every now and then, you reach out and give them a second chance at that prepaid discount. You say, hey, if you want to pay off the rest of your balance today, I'll still give you that $5 off. A lot of people will jump on that.
Look, a payment plan doesn't mean anything if the payments don't actually go through.
Your goal is to get those declines as close to zero as possible. Here are 2 super simple but powerful tips. First, ask people when they get paid and schedule the payments for then. It sounds obvious, but you'd be surprised how many businesses don't. Second, if a cart gets declined, don't just give up. Run it a few more times that same day. That simple move right there, it can bring back up to 1/3 of your failed payments. That's huge.
So at this point, you might be thinking, hey, this is great, but why not just offer the monthly plan from the get-go? Why all this work? It's a fair question, and the answer is in the data. There's hard proof that starting high and working your way down is just flat out better for your business.
And we're not talking about a small survey here. We're talking about a massive study from the folks at ProfitWell, who are experts in this stuff. They looked at the data from 14,000 businesses. So when we look at these numbers, we know they're reliable.
And the results? They couldn't be clearer. Basically, every single time you bill a customer, it's another chance for them to think about canceling. Look at this. Customers who pay annually, they only cancel at a 2% rate. Go to quarterly, and it more than doubles. And then look at monthly, a whopping 10.7% churn rate. This is exactly why you always start by offering fewer, larger payments. It's not just about getting cash in the door faster, it's about keeping your customers way, way longer.
All right, let's wrap this all up and put a bow on it. Let's pull everything together into a new, powerful closing strategy that you can start using today. Here's your action plan, your to-do list. Number 1, frame prepayment as a reward, not a payment plan as a punishment. 2, always use that want check. Make sure it's a money problem, not a desire problem. 3, start your offers big, pay in full or half and half. 4, line up your billing dates with their paydays. And 5, don't forget that built-in upsell to offer a payoff discount later on.
So I want to leave you with this one final thought to chew on. The next time you're putting an offer together, or the next time a customer tells you, I can't afford it, just pause for a second and ask yourself this question. Is my price really the problem here? Or is it just the way I'm asking people to pay for it? The answer, as you've seen today, could literally change everything for your business.
Okay, so what if you could take a customer who's already saying no and turn them into a long-term committed fan? Well, today we're diving into a pretty clever, kind of counterintuitive sales strategy that does exactly that. It's called the trial with penalty. Let's get into it. So this whole idea really kicks off with this quote from a business owner, a woman named Lila. She was just about to walk away from another piece of complicated software. But one company did something different, something that she called a weird spin. It didn't just get her attention, it actually won her business for good. So what was this weird spin? Let's find out. And that really brings us to the big question here, doesn't it? When a customer is already heading for the exit, how on earth do you bring them back? And not just for a quick sale, but in a way that actually builds a real, lasting relationship. Well, the answer involves flipping the whole idea of a free trial completely on its head. All right, let's get into the real-world story that sparked this whole thing. It's a great little anecdote about a skeptical customer, what seemed like a lost sale, and a really unconventional offer. Okay, so picture this. Layla's business is booming, and she knows she needs HR software, like yesterday. But she's been on a ton of sales calls, and everything just feels so complicated, overwhelming. She finds a company she kind of likes, but she's got one foot out the door, ready to say no, just like she did to all the others. The stage is set for a total rejection. But this is where it gets interesting. Instead of just letting her walk, the salesperson throws a curveball. They say, look, that really expensive onboarding process, we'll give it to you for free if you complete all the training. If you skip it, you've got to pay for it. All of a sudden, this wasn't just another free trial. It had stakes. And wow, did it work. To avoid that fee, Layla actually did all the training. She learned the software inside and out. And in doing so, she got invested. You know, it's that classic IKEA effect. The more effort you put into something, the more you value it. She became a loyal customer, not just because the software was good, but because she was now invested in her own success with it. So let's unpack the psychology of what just happened. That penalty, it's not really about punishing someone. Not at all. It's actually a clever little commitment device. It makes sure the customer puts in the work they need to so they can see for themselves how valuable your product really is. So here it is, the official definition. A trial with penalty is where a customer gets to try your service for free, but only if they meet certain terms. They only have to pay if they don't meet them. See, unlike a normal free trial where someone can just sign up and ghost you, this model requires them to actually participate. They get everything for free as long as they do things like show up to training or finish the setup tasks. The penalty is just the cost of the service they would have paid for anyway. And this little diagram here just lays it all out perfectly. You start with that no thanks, but instead of the conversation ending there, you offer a downsell, a free service, but with strings attached. The customer has to show up, do the work, maybe leave a review. If they stick to the deal, it costs them nothing. If they don't, they pay. It just completely flips the script and turns out rejection into a potential win. And the impact on your business? It can be absolutely huge. Think about it. If you only have one main offer, you lose every single person who says no. But by adding this as a downsell, you give those people a second shot to say yes. The source material suggests this one strategy could potentially double your customer conversions. You go from closing, say, 3 out of 10 people to closing 3 more from that group of 7 who initially said no. That's a game changer. All right, so the idea is obviously powerful, but you're probably thinking, okay, how do I actually do this? Well, let's walk through the 5 key steps to setting up your own trial with penalty. First step, and this is probably the most important one, this is not your main offer. You lead with your standard paid package. Only when a potential customer says no, or maybe I need to think about it, do you bring this out. Think of it as your secret weapon, a safety net to catch leads that you would have completely lost otherwise. Step 2 is a big one, and it's non-negotiable. You have to get a credit card up front. This is about way more than just billing. It's a psychological hurdle. The simple act of pulling out their wallet and giving you their details filters out the people who aren't serious. It signals real intent. And if they ask why, you just explain it's part of the process that guarantees the best results for everyone. Next up, you gotta frame this thing the right way. This isn't about them just kicking the tires. You need to set the expectation right from the start that this is step 1 of a much longer journey. You explain that, yeah, the trial will help them build some good habits, but to get to their real long-term goals, they're gonna need to stick around as a paying customer. Okay, how you talk about the fees is absolutely critical. You never, ever frame it as a punishment or a threat. Instead, after you have their card, you explain it as an accountability tool. Something like, hey, just so you know, to help you get the absolute best results, we have a small accountability fee for any missed sessions. It just helps keep everyone on track. See? You're positioning it as a feature that helps them. And finally, you build your sales process right into the trial itself. You make one-on-one check-ins or consultations a mandatory part of the deal. This is brilliant because it lets you deliver a ton of value, get a much deeper understanding of their problems, and then, naturally, present your higher-end paid services as the obvious next step once they start seeing some wins. So you've run the trial, it's over. Now what? Well, a customer's experience can really only go one of 3 ways. And you need to have a game plan for every single one of them if you want to maximize your chances of success. Okay, best case scenario, they absolutely love it. They did the work, they saw the value, and they're excited to keep going. Perfect. Since you already have their credit card, they just roll right into a paying plan. But don't just leave it at that. You should still schedule a meeting with them. Why? Because a happy, successful customer is the absolute best person to upsell to an even better, more valuable service. But what if they hate it? This is such a critical moment. And the advice here is going to sound really weird, but take all the blame. Seriously, apologize for not giving them the right solution. This totally disarms them. It opens the door for you to ask, so what would have been a better fit? And their answer is literally your roadmap to pivot and sell them the higher level service that they actually needed all along. And the last outcome, they just didn't show up. They ghosted you. Now, technically, you could charge them that penalty fee. But honestly, a few bucks is rarely worth the risk of a nasty 1-star review. Instead, reach out and make an offer. Hey, I'll waive the fee if you just hop on one more meeting with me. It gives you one last chance to re-engage them and maybe get them back on track. We're almost done, but before we wrap this up, let's just go over a couple of pro tips. These are the little things that will help you really fine-tune this strategy and get the best results possible. This tip is so important. Never ever call this a trial with penalty to a customer. That sounds terrifying. To them, it's just a free trial. Keep the language simple and positive. And if they ask about the credit card or the conditions, you just confidently tell them, this is the process we found gets our clients the absolute best results. And finally, a few last rapid-fire tips. First, be a little flexible. If someone messes up once, give them a way to make up for it. The goal is to keep them engaged. Second, think about breaking up the fees. A small fee for one missed task feels way less scary than one giant penalty at the end. And third, you have to listen to what the market is telling you. If literally no one is taking you up on the trial, your requirements are probably too high or the penalties are too steep. Adjust. And that's it, the trial with penalty. It's a really powerful way to filter for customers who are actually serious and to make sure they get real value from day one. So, I'll leave you with this question. If your current free trials are just attracting a bunch of users who sign up and then disappear, maybe, just maybe, it's time to ask for a little skin in the game. Thanks for watching.
Have you ever lost a sale because your price was just a little too high? Yeah, we've all been there. But what if I told you there's a way you could close that deal without offering a single discount that devalues your product? Well, today we're diving into a super powerful strategy that does exactly that. It's called feature downselling.
So here's what we've got on tap. First, we're going to kick things off with a real-world story about a business that saw some absolutely explosive growth. Then, we'll get into the secret psychology that makes this whole thing tick. After that, it's all about you. We'll build your own personal downselling toolkit, share some pro-level tips to help you really master it, and then we'll wrap up with the core principles you'll want to tattoo on your brain.
All right, let's just dive right in with a story that really brings this whole idea to life. We're talking about a massive change in business, all from one teeny-tiny tweak.
I mean, just imagine saying this about your own business. A guy implements one new strategy and his sales just go through the roof. And you know what the craziest part is? He told the author that even more people started buying his main full-priced offer than before he started doing this. How is that even possible?
And just look at this graph to see the scale of this thing. This isn't just some tiny little bump. We're talking about going from closing 25 out of every 100 people he talked to a staggering 75. He literally tripled his business from the exact same number of leads. So the big question is, how do you do it?
And here it is. This is the secret sauce. He didn't just slash the price, because let's be honest, that can just make your stuff feel cheap. Instead, when a customer got hesitant about the price, he'd say, well, if you don't want the option to get your money back, you can pay less. Boom. He created a choice by removing one single but very valuable feature.
And this is where the magic really happens. Look at these numbers. Before, 25 people said yes. Simple. Now, 75 people are buying something. But wait, look closer. 35 of them are now buying the original full offer. That's more than the 25 he was getting before. And on top of that, another 40 people are taking the new downsell offer. So he increased his full-price buyers, his total close rate, and his upfront cash, all with one simple change. Incredible.
Okay, so we've seen what happened. Now let's get into the why. Let's peel back the curtain a little bit and get into the psychology of all this to really understand what makes this technique so darn effective.
The whole idea is really simple when you see it like this. You start with your awesome full-featured offer. But when someone says, it's a little too expensive, you don't just make the whole thing cheaper. No, you perform a little surgery. You remove a feature or two, which then justifies a lower price and creates a whole new separate offer. And this is the official definition, but let's be real. The key word here is removing. We're not just deploying a discount sticker. A featured downsell fundamentally changes what the customer actually gets. You're lowering the price, sure, but it's totally justified because you're actually altering the deal. And this right here, this is the little bit of brain jujitsu that makes it all work. It's like, you don't really appreciate having your car keys until you think you've lost them, right? That little moment of panic? That's what's going on here. Customers in our story didn't fully appreciate that money-back guarantee until it was on the chopping block. Suddenly, the fear of losing that safety net made the original, higher price seem like a much better deal. It's so powerful, customers often end up upselling themselves.
Okay, theory's cool and all, but how do you actually do this? Let's get practical. Let's build your downselling toolkit right now with some different methods you can start using today.
You basically have two main levers you can pull here, and it's pretty straightforward. First step, you've got quantity. Simple. Instead of 4 coaching sessions, you offer 2. Instead of a year's supply, you offer 3 months. You get the idea. The second lever is quality. Instead of the premium leather seats, you offer the standard vinyl. Instead of instant support, you offer next-day support.
And here's just a perfect, non-pushy way to phrase a quantity downsell. It sounds so helpful, doesn't it? You're not pressuring them, you're just collaborating with them to find a solution that fits their budget right now.
Now, if you're in a service business, oh man, the options are almost endless. You can play with the speed of your response, the hours you're available, or even the way you communicate. You could even downsell who does the work. Maybe they work with a junior employee for a lower price instead of you, the owner. Each of these creates a whole new level of value and justifies a totally different price.
Okay, here's another really powerful one that I love. You can downsell from a done-for-you service to a do-it-yourself model. If a customer can't afford your premium all-inclusive service, don't just let them walk away. Instead, offer them a kit or a course that gives them the tools and knowledge to get a similar result on their own.
This example from a painter is it's genius. He can't close the big high-ticket painting job. So what does he do instead of getting zero? He pivots. He still makes a sale on the paint and the equipment lease, he still helps the customer, and he keeps that person in his world. It's an absolute win-win.
All right, so you've got the fundamentals, you've got the tools. Now let's talk about how to become a real pro at this. These are the tips that'll take your skills from good to great. How you frame this stuff really matters. Don't just call your offers Package A and Package B. That's so boring. Use names that people understand instantly, like an airline, first class, business class, economy. You immediately get the value ladder. You could even name your top tier something aspirational, like the total transformation, and call the base option the minimum. That name alone implies it's the absolute least they should get, which subtly nudges them to aim higher.
But what happens if you've offered a downsell and they still say no? Before you just give up, use what's called the temperature check. Just ask them, hey, on a scale from 1 to 10, how bad do you want this result? If they say an 8, 9, or 10, the issue isn't the total price, it's just cash flow. That's your cue to offer a payment plan. But if they say a 7 or below, their motivation is the real problem, and you need to ask them, okay, what would a 10 look like? And see if you can build an offer around that.
And here are 2 more powerful strategies for you. First, use downsells for retention. If you see a customer isn't using all the fancy features they're paying for, proactively reach out and offer them a cheaper plan that fits their usage. They'll love you for it and will be way less likely to cancel. Second, don't forget you can barter. A $100 price reduction might be worth thousands in advertising if you can get a great video testimonial or a bunch of referrals in exchange.
All right, as we bring this all home, let's boil it all down to the key principles. These are the big takeaways you'll want to remember long after you're done with this.
If you remember nothing else, please remember this philosophy. You are not a discounter. You are a helpful guide. Always justify a lower price by removing something valuable. Remember that your first downsell is often the best tool to make people realize they want your main offer. And finally, when you combine these feature downsells with flexible payment plans, your offer becomes almost impossible to say no to.
So, I'll leave you with this one question to think about for your own business. What is your version of the money-back guarantee? What's that one valuable feature you could remove that would instantly make your customers stop and think about its true value? Find that, and you've found the key to your first and probably your most powerful feature downsell.
All right, so we've talked about attraction offers, we've gone deep on upsells, and we've even covered downsells. But there's one final piece to this whole money model, and honestly, it's the one that can change everything. Let's dive into the strategy that turns a one-time customer into a stream of predictable, reliable income. I absolutely love this piece of wisdom that one of the author's early mentors shared. It just frames this topic perfectly, doesn't it? It's all about playing the long game, getting sustainable value over and over again, instead of just going for one big, short-sighted win. This idea right here, it's the key to building a business that actually lasts. So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll do a quick recap of the model so far, just to set the stage. Then we'll really dig into that shear a sheep idea. After that, we'll look at the math. And trust me, the numbers are what make this so powerful. We'll also see how to get the best of both worlds. And finally, I'll leave you with 3 simple ways you can get started with this today. Okay, so before we add this final game-changing piece to the puzzle, let's just quickly look at the foundation we've already put in place. It's all about building a journey for your customer, right? So our journey so far kicks off with that attraction offer. Its whole job is to get that first yes. Simple. Then, right after, we hit them with an upsell to increase the immediate value of that sale. And for anyone who says no to the upsell, we've got a downsell ready to go, making sure we're still maximizing what we can. These 3 stages are all about one thing: getting cash in your pocket today. Now, those first few steps are great, but they're transactional. They happen one time, and that's it. The real question, the one that really builds lasting businesses, is how do we turn that one-time transaction into a long-term relationship? And that brings us to that empty box on our diagram. This is the key.
And that empty box, that final piece, is all about continuity. This is the engine that drives predictable long-term growth. It's the shearing the sheep part of the analogy. So what is a continuity offer, really? Well, it's pretty simple. It's any model where you give your customers ongoing value, and in return, they give you ongoing payments. Think about Netflix, your gym membership, software subscriptions. You get the idea. It's a recurring exchange of value. And this right here is the absolute magic of it. Think about it. You do all the hard work to get the customer one time, but the payoff, that keeps coming in, month after month, or year after year. That is some serious business leverage. Now, this isn't just a cool theory. The actual numbers behind continuity are, frankly, staggering. Let's just walk through a really simple side-by-side to see why this model is just so dominant. Okay, so let me ask you this. You've got a great product. Do you sell it for $1,000, one and done? Or do you sell access to it for just $50 a month? Now, at first glance, that $1,000 price tag feels way more substantial, right? Well, let's actually run the numbers and see what happens. All right, first up, let's go with the big ticket one-time offer. We're going to pitch this to 100 potential customers. Now, $1,000 is a pretty big commitment. It's not an impulse buy. So out of our 100 prospects, let's say a pretty decent 10%. That's 10 people decide to pull the trigger. Okay, so 10 buyers at $1,000 each, that's $10,000 in revenue. Hey, that's not bad. That's a solid day's work. You bank that cash, and then you start the hunt all over again for the next customer. That's the classic model. But what if we change the offer? So now let's hit rewind. Same product, same 100 people, but this time the price isn't $1,000 up front. It's just $50 a month. Instantly you can feel how the barrier to entry just completely vanished. Because $50 is a much smaller, way less risky decision, getting people to say yes is so much easier. So instead of just 10 buyers, let's say we now get 40. That's a 400% jump in customer acquisition. Think about that. You've quadrupled the number of people who are now in your world. And here is where the magic really kicks in. Let's say, on average, those 40 customers stick around for about 20 months, which, for a good service, is totally reasonable. So, 40 people paying you $50 20 times over. You've now generated $40,000. That is 4 times the revenue from the exact same group of 100 people. Let's just put them side by side to let it sink in. Scenario 1 gives you 10 customers and 10 grand. Scenario 2 gives you 40 customers and 40 grand over time. The math just, it doesn't lie. One path is a quick transaction. The other path builds a real asset. Oh, and if you thought that was powerful, it gets even better. This is not just about the money from this one offer. In that first scenario, you have a list of 10 customers you can sell future products to. But in the second one, you have 40. Your most valuable asset, your customer list, is now 4 times bigger. That is an absolute game changer for the future of your business.
Okay, I know what you might be thinking. That's great, but $40,000 over time doesn't help me pay my bills today. And you're 100% right. That cash flow crunch is real. So the secret isn't just what you offer, but when you offer it. And this right here, this is the optimal flow. This is how you get the best of both worlds. You place the continuity offer last. You use the attraction, upsell, and downsell offers to get as much cash in the bank as you can today. And then, only after you've maximized your upfront profit, you introduce the continuity offer to build that predictable long-term revenue for tomorrow. It is the perfect marriage of immediate cash and future security. All right, so this all sounds fantastic in theory, right? But how do you actually come up with a continuity offer that people will want? Well, the source material gives us 3 proven ways to get started. There are 3 models you can start with right away. First, bonus offers, where your members get exclusive content or tools that nobody else gets. Second, you've got discount offers, super simple but super effective. Members just get a special discount on everything else you sell. And third, waived fee offers, where maybe subscribers don't have to pay for shipping or other service fees. Each one gives people a really strong, ongoing reason to stick with you. Now look, we could spend hours talking about how to build out each of these offers. But the good news is, the source material actually has a free training that goes deep on exactly how to build all 3 types, step by step. If you're serious about this, you can just scan the QR code you see on the screen and it'll take you right there. It's the perfect next step. So let's wrap up with this thought. Continuity is way more than just a sales tactic.
It's a completely different way of thinking about your business. It's like a snowball. It starts small, but as it keeps rolling, it picks up more and more snow, growing with this unstoppable momentum. So the only real question left is, where in your business could you start packing that first handful of snow?
Okay, let's talk about something wild. What if I told you that one tiny tweak to your offer could literally triple your recurring revenue? I know, it sounds like some kind of clickbait gimmick, right? But it's not. This is exactly what one business owner stumbled upon. Today, we're going to break down this super powerful model they used, so let's dive right in.
So where does this all come from? Well, it all kicked off with this one observation that just didn't make any sense. There was this gym, right? Kind of known for struggling, not really a top performer. And then, all of a sudden, they start posting numbers that were just blowing past some of the best gyms out there. You have to ask yourself, how is that even possible? It was a total mystery, and it sparked this whole investigation that, you guessed it, uncovered a brilliant and shockingly simple strategy.
So what was the big secret, right? Well, the story starts with what looked like a totally standard marketing campaign. But what was happening behind closed doors? Yeah, that was anything but standard.
Okay, so if you were just looking from the outside, everything seemed totally normal. The gym's ads were all about a standard, 6-week fitness challenge. We've all seen those. But here's the thing. The real offer, it wasn't on the flyer. The magic happened when people actually walked through the door. That's when they were hit with a completely different deal. And it was a deal that was proving to be almost impossible for anyone to say no to. And the results were, they were so insane that people just had to ask, dude, what are you doing? We're not talking about a small improvement here. The numbers were completely off the charts. This wasn't just some minor tweak or optimization. No, this was a fundamental, ground-up shift in how they were getting new members in the door. Okay, check out the math on this, because it's gonna feel a little backward at first. So before this tweak, they got 34 people to sign up for their challenge, and that turned into 17 members, a 50% conversion rate. Not bad, right? But after the change, get this, they actually got fewer people to sign up for the challenge, only 15. But they turned those 15 people into 40 long-term members. Think about that. They tripled their sales by getting less interest up front. How does that even work? What did they do? And this is the big aha moment. This incredible strategy actually has a name. It's called the continuity bonus model. And trust me, it completely flips the traditional way of selling things right on its head. So here's the core idea. Just picture this. You're a customer, and you have two choices. Option A, you can pay, say, $600 for this awesome product. Or option B, you can get that exact same $600 product for free. The only catch? You just have to join the monthly membership. All of a sudden, the conversation isn't about a one-time purchase anymore. It's about starting a long-term relationship.
So to put it really simply, a continuity bonus offer is all about dangling this super high-value carrot, that's the bonus, to get a customer to commit to a recurring payment, which is the continuity. But here's the absolute key. The perceived value of that free bonus has to be so crazy high that signing up for the subscription feels like a complete and total no-brainer.
All right, so the theory is obviously super powerful. But how do you actually build one of these for your own business? Let's get into the nitty-gritty and break down the practical how-to steps.
Okay, your pitch is everything here, and it follows this really simple 3-step psychological trick. Step 1, you sell the bonus, hard. Forget the membership for a second. You anchor its high value, you talk about all the amazing benefits, you get them to a point where they really, really want it. Then, once they're totally hooked, you hit them with the magic question. Hey, want to get all that for free? Of course they're going to say yes. And that's when you introduce the membership, not as another thing to buy, but as the secret key that unlocks the awesome free gift they already want.
Now listen up, because not all bonuses are created equal. For this to really work, you've got to follow a few key rules. First, your ads, they need to be screaming about the incredible free thing, not the monthly subscription fee. Next, the bonus has to be related to what you do. Otherwise, you'll just get a bunch of freebie seekers who cancel right away. And here's the best part. You probably don't even need to create something new. Just bundle up some of your past products, or heck, even put a dollar value on your onboarding process. Just make sure whatever price you put on it is realistic, and maybe stack a few things together to make the perceived value just completely irresistible.
And this model is so cool because it works in literally any industry. Think about it. A pet food company? They're not selling a $59 a month subscription. No way. They're giving away a free $800 toy package. A marketing agency?
They're not selling a $100 a month membership. They're giving away a free $1,000 accelerator program. A newsletter writer? They're not just selling content. They're giving away a digital archive worth nearly $16,000. You see the pattern? In every single case, the bonus is the absolute star of the show.
Okay, so you've got the basic offer structure down. Now, let's level up. We're going to get into the advanced tactics, specifically how you can use pricing as this incredibly powerful lever to control exactly what your customers do.
This chart right here basically reveals the entire secret sauce of the strategy. It's a super direct relationship. The more expensive you make the bonus to buy on its own, the more people will just say, forget that, I'll take the free option and join your membership. It's amazing. You can literally steer your customers toward the exact decision you want them to make, just by playing with the price.
Let's put some actual numbers on this to make it real. If you price that standalone bonus at about 1.3 times your monthly fee, you'll see that roughly half your customers will just pay for it up front. But if you jack that price up to almost 2.7 times the monthly fee, a whopping 90% of people will opt for the membership instead. See? You're completely in control of the outcome, all with simple math.
So what does this all mean for you? It means you're not guessing anymore. You are making a calculated, strategic choice. Do you need a bunch of cash up front, maybe to pay for ads? Okay, set the standalone price a little lower. Or is your main goal to maximize that sweet long-term recurring revenue? Then you set that price way higher. The point is, you are in the driver's seat.
But hang on, there is one potential hang-up with this whole model. Getting less cash on day one can make it really tough to pay for advertising, right? So let's talk about the final piece of this puzzle. How to get the best of both worlds, that long-term recurring revenue and the immediate cash flow you need.
So here's the big challenge. When a new customer signs up, you're only getting 1 month's payment from them. A lot of the time, that's just not enough to cover your ad costs to get them in the door. This cash flow crunch is honestly the reason most people fail when they try to use this model. But don't worry, there's a really elegant solution.
50%. This number right here is the solution. It is totally possible to boost your immediate day one profits by this much with one simple little offer. And that gives you all the cash you need to go out and scale your ads.
And here's exactly how you do it. The very second someone joins your monthly plan, you immediately hit them with a prepaid offer. Something like, hey, want to buy 5 months now and get the 6th one totally free? Even if only a handful of people take you up on that deal, you can instantly boost your upfront cash by 50% or even more. It's such a simple, powerful way to pour fuel on your growth.
So this really brings us to the final strategic fork in the road for your business. You have to ask yourself, what is my main goal right now?
And here are your 2 main paths. Path number 1, if you need more cash now, you offer that bonus as a standalone purchase. You price it so it's attractive enough that a decent number of people will just buy it outright. Path number 2, if your main goal is building a rock-solid base of super committed members, you can make that bonus only available to people who commit to a longer-term plan, say 3, 6, or even 12 months. It's a classic strategic trade-off, and the choice is completely up to you.
Okay, so let's wrap this all up with the key takeaways. Number 1, sell the bonus, not the membership. Your marketing has to be all about the free thing. Number 2, give away something truly high value for free when people subscribe. Number 3, always have that higher price standalone option available to get some quick cash in the door. And finally, number 4, use an immediate prepaid upsell the moment they sign up to solve your cash flow needs. Simple as that.
And that leaves us with one last big question for you to think about. I want you to look inside your own business right now. What do you already have just sitting there? A course you made, a guide you wrote, an archive of old content, that thing you've forgotten about, that dormant asset? That could be your golden ticket. That could be the incredible bonus you give away to win a customer, not just for a month, but maybe for life.
Okay, what if I told you that the absolute fastest way to get a flood of new, totally committed customers was to give your service away for free? I know it sounds completely backwards, but it's the secret behind a really powerful business model for building that sweet recurring revenue. So today, we're going to break down what's called the continuity discount offer. All right, let's dive right in. Here's what we're covering. We're going to start with a pretty wild story I'm calling the Trash Man's Secret. Then we'll actually define the continuity discount offer. After that, we'll look at 4 different ways you can slice and dice this. Then come the pro tips for making even more money. We'll tackle how to handle cancellations, super important, and finally, we'll wrap it all up with the key takeaways. To really get why this model works, we have to start with a story.
And it's an unlikely one. It's about a guy who built an absolute empire on something that we all just throw away every single day without even thinking about it. Yep, trash. That was the one-word answer a writer got when he asked his new neighbor how in the world he could afford a Ferrari living in this super fancy neighborhood. I mean, the guy didn't look like some high-powered surgeon or lawyer. His secret was way more interesting. It was literally trash. So the guy explains that he used to be in the trash business, and he spotted this massive opportunity. So he took a huge gamble. He maxed out his credit cards and came up with an offer so insane that his own family, his investors, everyone, they all told him he was absolutely crazy. And here it is. This was the offer at the heart of his entire fortune. He went to these giant apartment complexes and said, look, I will handle all of your trash for an entire year completely free. I mean, that's a massive short-term loss, right? But in exchange, they had to lock in a 5-year paid contract with him. So after that first brutal year, the cash just came flooding in. He built this huge business and then sold it for millions. So what our trash man figured out? Well, it actually has a formal name. And it's a strategy that you can apply to pretty much any business that has some kind of recurring payment.
At its core, the continuity discount offer is a trade-off. It's simple. You give away some value right now to lock in a customer for the long haul. And let me tell you, it's an unbelievably effective way to get a ton of new customers, because for them, the sale just feels like a complete no-brainer.
And this shows that trade-off perfectly. The customer sees, wow, 3 months, zero cost. All they have to do is commit to paying for the next 12 months. So you sacrifice that immediate cash, but what you get in return is long-term, predictable, reliable revenue.
Now, the really cool thing about this model is how flexible it is. You don't have to go all in like the trash man and give a whole year away up front. There are actually 4 main ways you can structure this discount, and each one has its own set of pros and cons.
Okay, let's compare the 2 most common ways to do this. Over on the left, you've got the upfront model. That's our trash man special. You get the free stuff first, and then you start paying. But on the right, you have the at-the-end model. This is where the customer pays for, say, 12 months, and then, as a reward for being so loyal, they get their free 3 months.
So you've got a really fundamental choice to make here. That upfront discount, it's like pouring gasoline on a fire for customer acquisition. It converts so many people. But the downside is it delays your cash flow, and you might get people who just leave the second they have to start paying. Now, the at-the-end discount, fewer people will take it, but the ones who do are higher quality, they're more committed, which means less churn and more predictable money from day one.
Let's look at 2 other really smart ways to do this, and both of these are fantastic for managing your cash flow. You can spread the discount out over the whole contract, or you can give the free period after the customer's already made 1 or 2 payments. Spreading the discount out is great, so instead of a free $600 period, it becomes a $50 discount every single month for a year. That keeps cash coming in nice and steady. But this second one, this one is brilliant. Getting 1 or 2 payments up front is a huge strategic win. It immediately covers what you spent on ads to get that customer, and just as important, it proves their credit card actually works before you give them anything for free. All right, so you've got the framework, you know the main models, but now we get to the really good stuff. This is the secret sauce. These are a few simple, almost invisible little tweaks that can have a massive impact on your profits with almost no extra work.
Okay, get ready for this, because this one tip might be the single most profitable thing in this entire breakdown. Stop billing monthly. Start billing every 4 weeks. Now, I know it sounds like the same thing, but it is not. There are 13 4-week cycles in a year. Not 12. That simple change in wording gets you an 8.3% lift in revenue. And look at this. If your profit margin is 20%, that's a 41% increase in pure profit. It's a little accounting trick that all the top subscription companies use. And there's more. Just add a tiny 3% processing fee. I'm telling you, almost no one will even notice, and it's pure profit for you. Ask for a backup payment method. This will crush failed payments. You can even offer to waive that little processing fee if they give it to you. And finally, offer the discount as a physical gift card. They can use it, or they might give it to a friend, which is a free referral, or they might just lose it, which means you just got a full price sign up. Okay, so you've got them in the door, they're on a long-term plan. But inevitably, some people will want to leave. And your cancellation policy, it's not just some legal fine print. It's a core part of making this whole strategy work. Honestly, this is the simplest and fairest way to handle it.
It's so easy for customers to understand. If they got $600 worth of free stuff by agreeing to a contract, they can leave anytime they want. They just have to pay back that $600 discount. They're made whole, you're made whole, it's clean.
But here's the magic trick. Don't just take their money and let them walk away. When someone wants to cancel, you use it as an opportunity. You say, hey, I'll waive that cancellation fee if you'll just jump on a quick call and give me some feedback. Then you listen to their problem. You empathize. You get more mad about their problem than they are. And then you try to solve it. You might just save them as a customer. Or you might find out they actually need a more expensive product, and you can upsell them.
And if you're wondering, does this little interview thing really work? Well, the results are just staggering. From what we've seen, you can save about a third, 1 out of every 3 customers who agrees to do one of these exit interviews. That is a massive impact on your business, turning what should have been a loss into a huge win. Whew, okay, we have covered a ton of ground, right? We've gone from that crazy trash man story all the way down to the nitty-gritty of cancellation policies. So let's pull all of this together into a really clear, actionable plan.
So the key here is to not just see this as one trick, but as a whole system. Here's your action plan. First, pick the discount model that actually fits your goals. Do you want conversions, retention, or cash flow? Second, bill smart. That 4-week cycle is an absolute game changer. Third, have a cancellation policy that's fair and easy to understand. And fourth, use every single cancellation as a chance to get better with an exit interview. You now have the entire playbook for one of the most powerful customer acquisition models that exist. It's a strategy that trades just a little bit of short-term pain for a massive long-term gain. So the only question left is, what are you going to offer? Okay, so let's get right into it. If you run any kind of business with monthly payments, you know the number one enemy, right? It's churn. It's that leaky bucket that just drains your customers, your revenue, and frankly, your sanity. But what if I told you there's a simple, kind of counterintuitive trick to patch that leak? A way to keep your customers locked in, not with some ironclad contract they hate, but with some clever psychology. Well, today we're breaking down an incredible strategy from a sales legend known as the waived fee offer. So this is the entire philosophy of the guy this idea comes from. He's a legend in high-ticket sales who makes millions a year, and his whole goal is to work as little as possible. And his big secret? It wasn't some crazy complicated funnel or $1 million ad spend. Nope. It was a simple, almost ridiculously elegant payment structure that basically did all the customer retention work for him on autopilot. Exactly. That was my first thought too. When I hear monthly payments, the last word that comes to mind is chill. I think of chasing down failed credit cards, sending those awkward, your payment is due emails, and just constantly trying to replace the customers who, inevitably leave. But he swore his method made almost all of that pain just disappear. So what on earth was this secret? You'd think it has to be about having a better product or a killer sales pitch. And yeah, those things are important, but this went deeper. It was all about how the offer itself was framed, right from the very beginning. And you know what? He was 100% right. This is one of those ideas that is so obvious in hindsight, you really will wonder how you never thought of it before. It completely flips the script on the relationship between you and your customer, getting both of you perfectly aligned for the long haul. So here it is. The whole strategy boils down to giving every new customer 2 very clear choices right at the point of sale. See, it shifts the whole conversation away from a simple yes or no on your service and turns it into a much more powerful question. How do you want to buy? This is where the magic really starts. And this visual pretty much sums up the whole concept at a glance. It's a fork in the road. You present the customer with 2 paths. Path A is the path of flexibility, but it's going to cost them more upfront. Or they can take path B, the path of commitment, which saves them a ton of money right away. Let's break down exactly what that looks like. Okay, so check this out. With option A, the customer gets total freedom. They can pay month to month, they can cancel whenever they want, no hard feelings. But to get that freedom, they have to pay a pretty big one-time setup fee right up front. Now, with option B, they agree to commit for a longer term, let's say 12 months. And in exchange for that commitment, you completely waive that entire setup fee. It's a huge win for them on day one. The only catch? If they decide to bail early, they've got to pay back that fee they got to skip. It's a beautifully simple trade-off, isn't it? So we see what the offer is. But the real question, the important question, is why on earth is this so good at crushing customer churn? Now we get to dig into the psychology of it all and see how this actually builds a retention engine right into your price tag.
What's really going on here taps into a fundamental driver of human behavior called loss aversion. You see, we are all hardwired to feel the pain of a loss about twice as strongly as the pleasure of an equivalent gain. So that big setup fee, it's not just a number, it's a potential loss, a penalty, a pain point that people will instinctively want to avoid.
And this is the masterstroke. This is the real kicker of the whole thing. The very same reason they signed up for the long-term plan to avoid that painful fee becomes the exact same reason they stay. They got a fantastic deal by making a promise, and the only way they get to keep that fantastic deal is by, well, keeping their promise.
So fast forward a few months. Maybe the customer has a bad week. Maybe they're just looking at their credit card statement. When they think about canceling, the question in their head is no longer as simple, do I still want this? Instead, it becomes, is quitting worth getting hit with that multi-$1,000 penalty that I was so happy to avoid in the first place? It just creates this powerful moment of friction that stops those casual, impulsive cancellations right in their tracks.
And that's the whole model, right there, boiled down to one sentence. You're just intentionally structuring the deal so that it's more painful, both financially and psychologically, to leave than it is to just pay next month's bill. It totally shifts the default behavior in the customer's mind from, should I cancel this month, to, I'll just stick with it.
All right, so the theory is solid, but how do you actually put this thing into practice in your own business? Let's get into the nitty-gritty, the actual numbers you should use, and even a simple script for how to present it without feeling weird.
So the key is making that setup fee feel substantial. The source recommends making it 3 to 5 times your monthly fee. So if your services say $1,000 a month, that setup fee needs to be somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000. It has to be big enough that waiving it feels like a massive, undeniable win for your customer.
And you don't have to be sneaky about this fee. You can justify it with total honesty. You can just say, look, for a long-term program like this, it costs us real money and time and resources to get a new client set up for success. If you just want to test things out month to month, that's totally fine. You just cover those costs. But if you're ready to commit to being a long-term partner, then I'm happy to invest in you and cover those setup costs myself. It frames it perfectly as a fair partnership.
Let's look at the numbers here because this really makes it all click. Let's say your service is $1,000 a month and the setup fee is $5,000. The choice for the customer becomes incredibly stark. Option A, pay a whopping $6,000 today for total freedom. Or option B, pay just $1,000 today simply by committing to the partnership. Now, when you're faced with that choice, what are you going to do? Most people will happily take the option that saves them $5,000 right now. Now, like any really powerful tool, this strategy has some important rules and nuances. If you use it right, you build a stable, predictable business. But if you're careless, it can cause some serious problems. So let's cover a few pro tips to make sure you're using this thing effectively and ethically.
Okay, a few crucial things to remember here. First, once the customer finishes their commitment, say the 12 months are up, that fee is gone forever. They earned it, they can leave anytime, no penalty. Second, and this is a big one, this is not a tool to trap people in a bad service. If more than, say, 5% of your customers are willing to pay a massive fee just to get away from you, that's a huge red flag. That's not a pricing problem, my friend. That's a product problem you need to fix. And finally, this works best for services where the results take time because it gives you the breathing room you need to actually deliver the value you promised.
And here's a really cool pro tip. You can actually tune this whole model based on what your business needs right now. If you need more cash in the bank, like today, you can use a slightly smaller fee, maybe 1.5 to 3 times the monthly rate. More people will just decide to pay it up front. But if your main goal is long-term stability and predictable revenue, you use a larger fee. That'll psychologically push almost everyone towards making the commitment, giving you that solid recurring income.
And for the final, and I should warn you, very advanced and maybe a little crazy pro move, the source suggests this wild idea. You literally ask the client to name a cause or an organization that they absolutely despise. Then you write into the contract that if they cancel early, their setup fee will be donated in their name to that very cause. Now, this is obviously an extreme tactic, but it creates 2 massive reasons to stay. They don't want to lose the money, and they definitely don't want their sworn enemy to get it. So that brings us to the big question, right? Where do you draw the line?
I mean, this is undeniably powerful psychology at work. When you pair it with a great product, it aligns everyone's goals, it helps customers commit to getting the results they actually want, and it creates amazing stability for your business. But could it also be used to lock people into a service they genuinely regret? The power is in how you structure it, and ultimately, it's up to us to decide how to use it. All right, today we're going to break down a framework that is an absolute game changer. It's called the money model. And really, understanding this can completely transform how your business makes money. Okay, just look at this number for a second. $4.4 million. Now, that's not a company valuation. It's not even their annual revenue. That is what one company was making every single month in just 20 months. I mean, it's a wild number. It seems almost made up, but it is very, very real.
So the question is obvious, right? How in the world did they pull that off? Well, the short answer is they didn't just sell a product. They built a system, a really smart, deliberate sequence of offers, something called a money model. And it's designed from the ground up to get the most value out of every single customer that comes in the door.
To really see how this works, we got to look at the story of Gym Launch. It's an incredible case study. And you know what the best part is? It kind of started by accident, which just proves this isn't some crazy, complex theory that only business geniuses can figure out.
The growth was just explosive. I mean, think about it. In just 3 months, with one single offer, they were hitting almost $500,000 a month. But here's the key. They didn't stop there. By adding more layers to their model, upsells for people who wanted more, downsells for people who hesitated, they more than quadrupled that revenue. And then, by month 20, they bolt on another business and nearly double it again. This isn't just growth, folks. This is hyperscaling, and it's all powered by the strategic model.
And this is what makes it so relatable. The founder flat out admits they didn't have this grand master plan from the beginning. It was a process, you know? They were just solving one problem, then the next. It only looks like this perfect, clean system when you look back at it. And that should be super encouraging for anyone wanting to try this stuff out.
Okay, so we've seen the results, which are mind-blowing. Now let's actually pull back the curtain and look at the theory behind it. This is the blueprint, the step-by-step logic of how a money model grows. So what is a money model, really? At its heart, it's just a plan. It's about being intentional. It's the strategy behind what you're selling, the timing of when you sell it, and how you actually present it to people, all with one goal, to maximize your profit as quickly and efficiently as possible.
And this diagram? This lays out the entire system at a glance. You can see the 4 key pieces: attraction, upsells, downsells, and continuity. It's a flow, right? It's a journey that you guide a customer on, which not only solves their problem, but also, well, maximizes their value to your business along the way. You can really think about this whole thing in 3 simple stages. Stage 1, just get cash in the door. That's your attraction offer's only job. Stage 2, get more cash from the customers you just got. That's your upsells and downsells. And finally, stage 3 is about getting the most cash over the long haul by creating stable, predictable income. That's continuity. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. We're going to look at the 4 fundamental building blocks that you'll use to actually construct your own money model. Think of these as the Lego bricks of your business. And here they are. You've got your attraction offer. That's the magnet that pulls new customers in. You've got your upsells. That's the arrow pointing up to a higher value solution. Then you've got downsells, the arrow pointing to a simpler, more accessible offer. And finally, continuity. That's the loop, the recurring revenue engine. Each one has a very specific job to do. So first up is the attraction offer. Its mission is simple. Turn a total stranger into a paying customer. And honestly, the main goal here isn't even to make a huge profit. It's about customer acquisition. A really good attraction offer should, at the bare minimum, cover its own advertising costs. That means you're basically building your customer list for free. So once you have a customer, you've solved their first problem, but solving one problem usually creates a new one, right? That's where the upsell comes in. It's the solution to that next level problem. Now, for the customers who say no to the upsell, the downsell comes in with a different, often smaller solution. This 1-2 punch is where you start to make your real profit. And finally, we get to continuity. This is the holy grail for so many businesses. It's all about creating something that provides ongoing value in exchange for ongoing payments. Think subscriptions, memberships, you name it. This is what creates that stable, predictable revenue that lets you sleep at night. And look how flexible this is. It doesn't matter if you're selling a $16,000 service like Gym Launch, running a small local gym, selling a digital product, or even physical goods. The principles are exactly the same. You start with something attractive up front, and then you build in that recurring revenue on the back end. This model can be adapted to pretty much any industry.
Okay, so this is the big question. How can you actually do this? This isn't just a cool theory. There is a very clear step-by-step plan you can follow to put this into action.
And here's the exact playbook. You do not try to build this whole machine at once. You start with step 1, you master your attraction offer. You get that thing dialed in so it's bringing in customers at break even. Only then do you move to step 2 and add an upsell. Once that's humming along, you add the downsell. And finally, you layer on your continuity offer. It's a sequence, and it builds a super stable business from the ground up.
Now, building the model is one thing, but making it work at scale, that requires a certain mindset. So let's wrap up with some of the hard-won lessons that really make the difference between a model that soars and one that just falls apart.
First and foremost, you have to resist the urge to make things complicated. The systems that scale to the moon are almost always the simplest ones. Get as much as you possibly can out of what you already have before you start adding new, shiny, and often fragile moving parts.
And this leads right into the idea of patience. Man, it is so tempting to rush through these stages to get to that finished model. But if you don't perfect each step before you move on, the whole foundation is just going to be weak. Building it right the first time, even if it feels slow, is always, always faster than having to rebuild it later.
This right here is a massive insight. Real growth doesn't always come from creating more stuff to sell. A lot of the time, it comes from finding more creative ways to package, present, and sell the thing you already have. You can turn one core product into dozens of different offers.
And this slide really sums up the rules of the road. You can see the theme, right? It's all about focus and iteration. You perfect one offer at a time. You start your prices low to get feedback, then you raise them. If you have a gap in your model, you don't even have to build it yourself. Use an affiliate product. You can even get creative and turn your initial offer into a subscription. But honestly, the most important rule is the last one. There are no rules. This is a framework, not a straitjacket. You have to experiment and see what works for you. So, let's end with this thought. Every single business already has a money model. It's just the way it happens to make offers and bring in cash right now. So the real question isn't, do you have one? It's whether the one you have is the one you actually want. Is it intentional? Is it strategic? Or is it just the one you fell into by accident? And what are you going to do to build the one you want on purpose? All right, let's get right into it. Today, we are taking on a massive topic. We're going to try and distill an entire decade's worth of business lessons, all about making money and growing, into just the next few minutes. So if you've ever had a great idea but wondered, how do I actually turn this into a profitable company? Well, you are in the right place. I want you to think of what we're about to cover as your personal roadmap. It's a guide that shows you the path from that very first spark of an idea all the way to a business that's actually scaling and making real profit. Look, the journey can feel overwhelming, for sure. But the framework we're exploring today, it gives you a clear, proven way to move forward. You know, when it comes right down to it, everything boils down to this one simple question. You could have the most amazing product on the planet. You might even know exactly who your perfect customer is. But none of that really matters if you can't figure out this final, absolutely crucial piece of the puzzle. And that leads us straight into what we can call the universal growth problem. This is something every single business bumps up against. It's not just about having something awesome to sell, it's about how you close that gap between someone being interested and them actually pulling out their credit card and buying. Yeah, this really says it all, doesn't it? You've got your product on one side and your potential customers on the other, but in between is this huge chasm. And getting them to cross that bridge, to say yes, that's the hardest part of the whole thing. It doesn't just happen on its own. It needs a system. So, what is that system? Well, our source material calls it a money model. And I love that term because this isn't about crossing your fingers and hoping for sales. Nope, this is about engineering sales. It's a deliberate framework you build to create profit and pour gasoline on your company's growth. And what's so great about this idea is how simple it is at its core. A money model is just a sequence of offers. Each one is built to do one of three things, and only three things: get you more customers, Get those customers to pay you more money or get them to pay you that money faster. That's it. That's the whole game. And this slide, this is huge. It shows the difference between a business that's just getting by and one that's ready to explode. See, a good model means the profit from one customer pays for you to go get the next one. It's sustainable. But a great model, a $100 million model, that's a true engine. The profit from just one customer is enough to acquire many new ones. And right there, that's the moment cash stops being a problem for you. So how in the world do we start building this engine? Well, the very first step is all about attraction. We need a handful of really smart offers designed specifically to get people in the door and make that first all-important sale. Let's break down 5 really powerful ways to do exactly that. Okay, tactic number 1, win your money back. This one is just brilliant. Why? Because it lines up your success perfectly with your customer's success. You give them a clear goal to hit with your product or service, and if they do it, they get their money back, either as cash or maybe even better as store credit. It's a fantastic way to get them to actually use what they bought and get results. Next up, giveaways. You've seen these everywhere, and for good reason. You offer a chance to win something amazing just for their contact info. Simple enough. But here's the clever part. After you announce the winner, you turn around and email everyone who didn't win and offer them that same big prize at a huge discount. Just like that, you've built a lead list and driven immediate sales. Tactic 3 is the decoy offer, and this is all about human psychology. You pull people in with something that's either free or super cheap, but the moment they show interest, you present them with a much better, premium option right next to it. Suddenly, that first offer just serves as a decoy that makes the premium one look like the obvious, smartest choice. And rounding it out, we've got 2 simple but super effective tactics. First, buy X, get Y free. It's as straightforward as it sounds. The more value you give away, the more people tend to buy in the first place. And then there's pay less now or pay more later, which is all about creating urgency. You give them a discount and some bonuses if they commit right now versus paying the full price later on. Okay, so you did it. You attracted a customer. They made a purchase. Awesome. But we're not done. Not even close. Now we get to the really profitable part. Maximizing the value of every single person who buys from you. And we do that with a strategic mix of upsells, downsells, and recurring payments. An upsell is what you offer right after they buy. The classic is simple. You solve the very next problem they're going to have. The menu approach is cool. You build trust by telling them what they don't need before selling them what they do. The anchor starts with your most expensive option to make everything else feel cheap. And the rollover is great. You let them apply what they just spent towards your next, even bigger offer. This quote, this is the entire spirit of that classic upsell. You just bought X? Great. But hey, you can't really have X without Y. The second a customer solves one problem, you're right there with the solution to the new problem they just created for themselves. It's just so natural. But what if they say no to your amazing upsell? You don't just walk away, you downsell. Maybe you offer the exact same thing, but on a payment plan. Or you give them a trial with some kind of penalty. Or you can just take away one feature to bring the price down. The goal is to turn that no into some kind of a yes. Right, and here's a perfect real-world example of that. Hey, I get it. If you're okay without the money-back guarantee, I can knock $400 off the price. See? The main product is the same, but by removing just one component, you create a more affordable option that might be exactly what they need to pull the trigger. All right, the last piece of the profit puzzle is continuity. This is all about getting predictable, recurring revenue. You can sweeten the deal with a huge bonus if they sign up today, offer a discount like your first month is free, or waive the setup fee if they commit to a longer-term plan. This is what gives your business a stable foundation to build on. Okay, we have all the pieces on the table now, right? We've got attraction offers, upsells, downsells, continuity, the whole shebang. Now we have to put them together. And this is really important. The order you assemble them in matters a lot. You have to follow a specific sequence. And here it is, the build order. Step 1, you just focus on one thing, getting customers, reliably. That's it. Then step 2, make sure each new customer pays for their own acquisition cost. Break even on day 1. Step 3, this is the magic. You make one customer profitable enough to pay for other new customers. Once that engine is humming, and only then, do you go to step 4 and worry about maximizing their long-term value. This quote from the source just says it all.
This isn't just some nice theory. When you actually do this stuff, when you build this model, the result is a flood of customers that are not only profitable, but free. It totally changes the game for a business.
And that is the whole point. This is the ultimate prize. When you get this right, you break free from the one thing that holds back almost every business, cash. Cash stops being a limitation. Instead, it becomes the high-octane fuel for your growth engine. You can finally scale as big and as fast as you want to.
You know, I think this quote is just a perfect way to wrap up what we've been talking about. At the end of the day, a good business helps someone solve a problem. And by sharing knowledge like this, we're helping more people build things that actually make a difference.
So let me just leave you with this one final question to think about. Seriously, take a second and imagine it. If money was no longer the problem, if you had an engine that could generate all the fuel you'd ever need for growth, what would you build? How big would you allow yourself to dream? Okay, let's talk about confidence. Seriously, how are we told to get it? You know the drill. Stand in front of a mirror, tell yourself you're awesome. There's a whole industry built on this idea that you can think your way to feeling powerful. But what if that's completely upside down? What if real, unshakable confidence has nothing to do with what you say and everything to do with what you prove?
And bam, there it is. Alex Hormozi just comes right out and says it. He's basically challenging decades of self-help advice in one sentence. Shouting at your reflection? That's not the work. According to him, that's just noise. This right here, this is the whole game. Confidence isn't something you just decide to have. It's something you build. Think of it like a lawyer building a case. Every action you take is a piece of evidence, and the goal is to create a stack of proof so big, so undeniable, that even your own self-doubt has to give up and admit defeat. It's about evidence, not wishful thinking.
So what's the game plan? It's these 3 words. This is the mantra. It's so simple, but it's powerful. When that little voice in your head starts whispering that you can't do it, you don't argue with it. You don't try to reason with it. You just go to work. You outwork it. Every single rep, every single task is another piece of proof for your stack.
All right, so this undeniable proof, what does that actually feel like when you're in the trenches? Well, to really get it, we're going to look at a message from the author's past, way before he became the huge public figure he is today. And this is what's so cool about this. This isn't some polished story told years after the fact. This is a raw message from the middle of the fight. It's like finding a letter from a soldier on the front lines, writing to the other people still out there in the thick of it. You can almost think of this as a note sent back in time. It's from the guy who made it through, speaking directly to everyone who's wondering if they ever will.
Oof, I mean, he goes right for the jugular, doesn't he? He's tapping into that deep, heavy feeling of letting people down, of seeing the doubt in their eyes, that external pressure that just fuels all our internal fears. He's saying, I know exactly what that feels like.
And his very first point, it isn't some piece of advice. It's not a do this, don't do that. No, it's something way more fundamental.
He's essentially saying, hey, I see you, I get it, I was you. And I'm over here on the other side rooting for you. It just completely flips the script on the loneliness of the whole journey. Suddenly, it's not a personal failure, it's a shared struggle. You're not broken, you're in the process of building.
Okay, so let's get into the mindset, the total head trip that this journey really is. The author just nails this feeling, this crazy internal contradiction that every entrepreneur lives with. Just look at this. This slide is everything. On one hand, you have 100% absolute unwavering confidence in your vision. You can see the future. But at the exact same time, you're drowning in 1,000% doubt about whether you're the person who can actually pull it off. It's this insane mental tug of war. And he's saying that feeling, that paradox, isn't a bug, it's a feature. It means you're on the right path.
So all these terrible feelings, hopelessness, thinking you're never going to make it, feeling like you're letting everyone down, guess what? Those aren't stop signs. They're not signals that you should turn back. According to Hormozi, they're actually mile markers. They're proof that you're on the right road.
And there it is. He's not trying to fix those feelings for you. He's welcoming you to the club because you have them. It validates the entire struggle. It reframes all that pain into a rite of passage. It's the cost of admission. And he just keeps reinforcing this idea of solidarity. The next time you feel that weight on your shoulders, remember this. You're not just carrying your own dream. You're part of a long line, a timeless tradition of people who tried to build something out of nothing. You're connected to all of them.
So, if feeling all this doubt and hopelessness is totally normal, then what's your actual job? What are you supposed to do? Well, the answer is simple. You have to shift your focus away from how you feel and onto what you do. It's all about pure, relentless action. The advice here is just brutally simple, right? It's not some complicated 10-step plan. It's a 3-line command that's all about forward momentum. Doesn't matter how you feel. Doesn't matter if you're scared or tired. The directive is the same. Continue the work. This was his personal mantra. This is what he told himself when things got really dark. And it's such a powerful way to reframe what winning and losing even means. Winning isn't hitting some far-off goal. Winning is just not quitting today. As long as you're still in the game, you haven't lost. And he says it again, but broken down with purpose. Keep moving forward. Each word is an instruction. It's deliberate. It's the drumbeat you're supposed to march to when every other sound is telling you to just give up and stop. So after all this fighting, all this moving forward, where does it all lead? What's the real prize for enduring all this struggle? Well, it might not be what you think.
And this is such a critical point. The ultimate reward isn't the money or the company or what other people think of you. The real prize is the person you had to become to get there. The journey itself forges you into someone who has that stack of undeniable proof. He describes it as this quiet voice inside you. It's not a scream, it's a whisper. It's that little part of you that even when you feel completely hopeless just says, come on, just one more step. He says that is your true self, breaking through the noise. And for all those people who ever doubted you, the fake friends, the family, anyone who said you couldn't do it, this is the answer. You don't have to argue with them. You don't have to say a word. Your success becomes the only response that matters. It's the final, irrefutable word in the argument. He signs off with this incredible challenge. Be one of 0. He's basically saying, be so good, so dedicated, so obsessed with your craft that they can't put you in a box with anyone else. You become your own category. It's a final command to just go beyond what anyone, including yourself, thinks is possible. And that's really where this whole thing lands. The question isn't about some 5-year plan. It's not about tomorrow or next week. It goes right back to that core idea of building the stack. What's one thing, just one, you can do today to add another piece of proof to that pile for yourself?
Have you ever had that feeling? You've got a killer business idea, but it feels like you're missing a few key pieces to really get it off the ground. Well, today, we're basically unlocking a complete toolkit for entrepreneurs. We're going to go through Alex Hormozi's free goodies and lay them out as a step-by-step guide to build, grow, and just explode your business.
You know, every entrepreneur dreams of a simple map like this. On paper, it looks so straightforward, right? Find a problem, build a solution, get some clients, and make money. Easy. But let's be real, the actual journey is never, ever a straight line.
The real challenge isn't just having the map, it's knowing what to do when you hit a wall. What happens when you get to a dead end, or you're just totally stuck on what to do next? That's when having the right tools becomes an absolute game changer.
So, in this explainer, we're going to give you the tools for every single part of that journey. We're talking about the roadmap itself, figuring out your customer and your product, getting people's attention, scaling up, and even where to find everything in one spot. And finally, why it's so important to give back. Let's get into it.
First things first, let's talk about this roadmap. And I want to be super clear. This isn't just a random list of freebies. You should think of this as your professional-grade toolkit. Each and every one of these resources is a specific tool for a specific problem you are absolutely going to run into.
Okay, now we're getting to the absolute foundation of, well, any business, really. Everything, and I mean everything, comes down to answering 2 fundamental questions. Who are you selling to, and what in the world are you selling them?
This is such a classic starting problem, and man, it's a big one. This is that kind of uncertainty that can just stop a brilliant idea dead in its tracks. Because if you don't know who you're for, you end up being for no one.
And here's the fix. Creating your first customer avatar. This isn't some fluffy marketing exercise, okay? This is about getting crystal clear on who you're helping.
This free chapter literally walks you through building a super detailed profile of your perfect customer, so you can stop guessing and start actually connecting with them.
So, once you know who you're serving, the next big hurdle is crafting an offer that they just can't refuse. I'm talking about an offer so good, your perfect customer would feel kind of dumb saying no. This is where the magic really happens.
The solution for this is to just dive headfirst into the $100 million offers framework. Seriously, this book is a masterclass. It teaches you how to build incredible, high-value offers from scratch. It's not about hype, it's about the real, tangible ingredients you need to put together to make something people are actually excited to pay for.
All right, so you've nailed down your customer, and you've got this killer offer. The next logical question is, how do you get people to care? How do you get that audience and start generating a steady stream of potential customers?
So you've got your amazing offer ready to go, but now you're face-to-face with the marketing challenge. How do you create consistent, predictable interest? Because let's be honest, without a constant flow of leads, even the best offer in the world is just going to sit there collecting dust.
And the solution is right here. A deep dive into lead generation with 100M leads. This book is basically the playbook for attracting a flood of qualified prospects. It's all about building a system that works for you, bringing people to your doorstep who are already looking for what you sell. And what's awesome is that you can soak all this stuff up in whatever way works best for you, right? If you love listening to in-depth stories while you're driving, there's a podcast. If you want to sit down and really dig into a training session, you can go to YouTube. Or if you just need a quick daily hit of knowledge, there's short-form content for that. It's all free, all there for you.
Okay, so once you've got the basics down and your business is actually profitable, a whole new challenge pops up. You've gone from just trying to survive to being stable. So now it's all about scale. How do you take what's working and make it 10 times bigger?
You know, this is a fantastic problem to have, for sure. But it's still a problem. Scaling requires a totally different way of thinking and a different set of tools than starting out. The things that got you here won't get you there.
Now, this next level of help, it does come with a pretty specific requirement. These scaling resources are really designed for businesses that are making over $1 million in EBITDA, which is basically a measure of profit. And that's to make sure the advice is super relevant for companies that can actually handle that kind of explosive growth.
So if your business fits that description, this is a really rare chance to get expert eyes on what you're doing. It's about more than just growing. It's about avoiding those hidden landmines and super expensive mistakes that can completely wreck a company that's scaling too fast.
Okay, we have talked about a ton of amazing stuff. Books, videos, podcasts, the whole shebang. So you might be wondering, where do you actually find all this? Is there like a central command center where you can get everything?
Yep, here it is. acquisition.com/training/money. You should think of this as your digital headquarters for growing your business. It's where every free download and all the video trainings live, all in one easy-to-find spot. So no matter what problem you're facing, you can just go here and grab the right tool for the job.
And what's pretty cool is that this hub isn't just about building your business. It's also a place you could go to build your career. By putting all their open jobs right there, they're really showing that their core belief is all about investing in great people.
All right, let's talk about the final piece of this puzzle. And honestly, this might be the most important part. It's a huge shift in how you think, moving from just taking in all this value to actively giving back and sharing it with other people.
So the final call to action is actually really simple. Become a giver. If these tools help you out, the single best way you can pay it forward is by leaving a review. Seriously, your experience could be the one thing that helps the next entrepreneur find their way through a tough spot.
And this quote it nails the mindset you need for this journey, doesn't it? Being an entrepreneur is just a series of overcoming obstacles. This is your reminder that your passion, your drive, your why, it has to burn way brighter than any challenge you're ever going to face. So there you have it, a full toolkit for your journey as an entrepreneur. You've got the map, you've got the tools for every major roadblock. The only question left is, which obstacle are you going to tackle first? What's the one thing you can do today to push your business forward?